With a thundering crash, the massive body collapsed to the ground, making a huge noise. Finally dead. Xia hung up in the tree, finally breathed a true sigh of relief. A portion of Snow Mane's head had been shot off directly by relentless iron arrows. Not only blood, but even brain matter had spilled out quite a lot. Even if it could play dead, this time it was definitely futile. Don't get close yet, I'll go check it out alone. Although it seemed almost certain, Xia Hong still adhered to caution, deciding to go check it out first by himself. No need, leader, I'll go check it. But before he could finish speaking, and before he could move, Xia Chuan had already jumped ahead. There's no need for the leader to go personally, I'll do it. Let me do it. Even the others scattered on both sides started vying for the task. Everyone scrambling to go forward and confirm themselves made Xia Hong's tense nerves immediately relax a lot, and a hint of a smile appeared on his face. Let Xia Chuan go alone, the rest of you wait with me. Their behavior was indeed heartwarming, but habits still needed to be nurtured. Having so many people rush forward at once could lead to regret if any problems arose in the future. The 11 didn't wait long. After about 10 breaths, Xia Chuan's slightly excited voice came from beside Snow Mane's corpse. No problem, everyone can come over, it's completely dead. Xia Hong leapt down from the tree, arriving first. Looking at the large Snow Mane corpse on the ground, Xia Hong's eyes were filled with joy, and the fatigue on his body seemed to vanish in an instant. Even the injury on his shoulder seemed to ease quite a lot. The other 10 also arrived one after another. Tusk, it's huge. Ha, intermediate cold beast, nothing more than that. This size is about 2 or 3 times that of a low-level snowman. A body length of 7 or 8 meters, this might yield 4 or 5,000 pounds of meat. Probably more than that. Not just the length, even the legs and body are a few circles larger than the low-level ones. The meat yield must be astonishing. We'll know when we take it back. This is an intermediate cold beast. Has anyone ever hunted one in the Redwood Ridge camp before? Leader, did we make history today? The crowd gathered around the Snow Mane corpse, their words filled with awe and excitement. Truth be told, during the hunt, aside from Xia Hong's brief close encounter with Snow Mane, the other 14 people had all been attacking from tens or even 100 meters away using bows and arrows. Just now they hadn't realized. Now that they were closer, they truly felt how massive this Snow Mane they had hunted was. All right, stop gawking. Split into 5 with Xia Chuan to pull out the arrows from its head. The other 5 go chop some trees to make long wooden poles so we can carry it back later. The 10's exclamations and shouts only lasted a moment before Xia Hong commanded, splitting them into 2 groups to start on their tasks. You guys can't withstand its blood now. Be careful not to get it on your skin while pulling out the arrows. Actually, Xia Hong didn't even need to remind them, as Xia Chuan, who had first confirmed Snow Mane's death, was already pulling out arrows, and seeing his cautious actions, the others immediately followed suit, not daring to let the blood from Snow Mane touch their skin. Hiss! Xia Hong sucked in a sharp breath, touched his stinging cheek, and looked down at his chest and arm, already torn and tattered, immediately guessing that his face was probably just as disfigured now. It wasn't for no reason that he reminded everyone. Just now, when crazily stabbing Snow Mane's 7 orifices with the Yi blade in the pit, the splattered blood almost drenched him. At that time, a strong burning sensation flooded his mind, but with the fierce battle occurring, his attention was all on Snow Mane, not letting it bother him. Now that he relaxed, the pain instantly became intense. Had it not been for elevating my basic strength to the peak of 30,000 pounds in the last phase, forget about slaying this Snow Mane. Its splattered blood alone would have cost me half my life. When his basic strength was only over 20,000 pounds, the Mouse King's blood temperature could directly burn through his skin. Only with the help of the sun-cold light could he eliminate the burns and fully recover. Now at the 30,000-pound peak, this blood, though still burning him till his skin burst open, didn't harm the inner flesh and bones, and moreover that pain was less intense than before. Though torn and tattered, miserably looking, accompanied by intense pain. But Xia Hong could clearly feel that he could endure it, and in enduring, his skin membrane and basic strength had visibly increased. Just that the appearance is a bit unsightly, it should recover soon. Also luckily it was night time, and given the depth of the location, he also dared not let anyone light a fire. The others could only see him covered in blood. If they saw his current terrifying, tattered appearance, maybe they'd mistake him for a ghoul. Who? Quickly tidy up, we can't stay here long. With a deep breath, Xia Hong resisted the severe pain on his body, urged everyone to speed up, then climbed a tree himself to observe the surroundings. This was already 4 or 5 kilometers deep into the Redwood Ridge area, where the trees were not only generally much thicker than those on the outskirts, the variety was also noticeably more diverse. 3 or 4 kilometers north, there was a large cloud mist zone, its estimated range some 500 or 600 meters wide. Further south, one could see a towering giant tree with an incomparably exaggerated diameter, on which dozens of massive figures were perched, each one not much different from the just slain snow mane. Chapter 191, Chapter 135, The Fearless Mirror Immortal 3 in 1/3. The north, the cloud mist zone should be the territory of the Tengjiao, but the cloud mist zone created by the low-level Tengjiao spans only 50 meters. This stretches 500 or 600 meters. Is it intermediate or advanced? The giant tree to the south, what is it, a snow mane group, or a frost wolf pack? Judging by the size, it's very likely that there are dozens of intermediate creatures. With so many intermediate cold beasts gathered together, there must be an advanced cold beast leader. Xia Hong withdrew his gaze, feeling shaken yet somewhat relieved. This snow mane running for its life was likely also avoiding other cold beast territories. This also showed that there was a strict hierarchy among the cold beasts. Even severely wounded, the snow mane's instincts still kept it from daring to enter another cold beast's territory. All set, Chief. Hearing Xia Chuan's call from below, Xia Hong leaped down. The arrow quivers on everyone's backs were replenished. The snow mane prey was tied with ropes to 2 long wooden sticks, with 2 people in front and 2 at the back, carrying it together. All right, let's hurry back. With Xia Hong's order, he led the way out into the eastern edge. Xia Chuan and Luo Yuan stood on either side. Yue Feng and Yuan Cheng followed at the back of the team, while Zhao Long and his 2 brothers moved straight through the trees, with the 4 carrying the prey in the middle. Going out hunting wasn't a 1 or 2 day affair, and the return formation had long become routine. No need for Xia Hong to speak, everyone could act accordingly. The unfamiliar environment, coupled with the occasional breathing and howling of unknown cold beasts around them, made Xia Hong lead the group almost at a run as they headed out. In just a few minutes, they had traveled more than 2 miles to the east. Another 1 or 2 miles, and they would reach the familiar outer area, not far from exiting the Redwood Ridge. Xia Hong glanced back and let out a small sigh of relief. Finally, we can catch a breath. It feels oppressive in there. Me too, it's so dark in there. Even though I didn't see a single cold beast, it still feels oppressive from all sides. The cold beasts inside likely have their own territories. Luckily, we followed that snow mane in, otherwise, wandering aimlessly would have cost us our lives in no time. Luo Yuan and Xia Chuan couldn't help but speak up directly. In just a few minutes of being outside, they had remained in a state of tension, always feeling something was watching them from the shadows. The expressions on the others, though silent, made it clear they too had felt the unease in those few minutes. Don't talk, let's keep moving, we'll be out soon enough. Xia Hong interrupted their conversation, urging everyone to pick up the pace again. Whoosh! After walking less than 200 meters ahead, suddenly, a swift arrow sliced through the air, flying horizontally before Xia Hong's eyes more than 10 meters away, piercing into a large tree on the right. Crack bang! Xia Hong tensed slightly, and before he could react, there was a series of sounds of trees breaking and crashing down from the left. Someone! Be careful! It's from the north. It's that tree, it fell. The sounds of their movements weren't loud, and the whiz of the arrow breaking through the air was extremely clear. Before Xia Hong could speak, the others had already remained alert. Xia Hong had already turned his gaze to the left, towards the north of the Redwood Ridge, his brows slightly furrowed. To the north, about over 100 meters away. After the large tree Xia Chuan mentioned fell, a huge creature measuring 8 or 9 meters in length rolled down from the tree, emitting a resounding crash. Arrows rained down like a storm, madly shooting towards the gigantic creature. At the same time, a figure wielding a giant broadsword leaped down from the nearest large tree, landing directly on the head of the massive creature. Someone has intruded to hunt. Is it that same group from last time? It should be the people from the Mirror Immortal camp. Only them, there's no other camp but theirs. They just barged in without even greeting us, Hong. This clearly appeared to be a group, similar to what they had just done, hunting intermediate cold beasts. Xia Chuan and the others understood instantly. Everyone opened their mouths, their tones carrying a hint of anger. After falling silent, they all directed their gaze at Xia Hong, who had not yet spoken. Let's go take a look. Of course, Xia Hong understood what was on everyone's minds. His face darkened as well. He initially thought that not encountering anyone from the Mirror Immortal camp on the outskirts meant they hadn't crossed the boundary. Unexpectedly, not only had the other side crossed the boundary, but they had already penetrated 2 kilometers deep and started hunting right here. For Xia Hong, who regarded the Redwood Ridge as the territory of Great Xia, the resources inside were undoubtedly the exclusive domain of Great Xia. The overt boundary-crossing actions of the Mirror Immortal camp clearly showed they had no regard for the Great Xia camp. Leave the prey here. Xia Chuan and Luo Yuan, come with me. The other 9 find good positions first. I definitely want to see how bold this Mirror Immortal camp can be. They chose to hunt at night, and just like Xia Hong and his group, used archery to hunt. Coupled with the broadsword wielders' dodging tactics when battling the massive creature, it was clear. Just from these 3 points, Xia Hong could roughly judge that their manpower and strongest capability should be similar to his own group. Xia Hong knew that the Mirror Immortal camp had cold resistance-level combatants. But for such a risky endeavor as hunting, with cold resistance-level experts lurking in the shadows and leaving these earth-digging realm people to fend against cold beasts, Xia Hong found it hard to believe. Since the cold resistance-level expert wasn't present, and their strength was comparable, moreover still entangled with cold beasts, it would be a wasted opportunity not to confront the Mirror Immortal camp here. Chapter 192, Chapter 135, The Fearless Mirror Immortal 3-in-1/4. Zhao Long, along with the other 8 people, dispersed and climbed up the trees, setting up their longbows in the shadows and aiming at several people in the Mirror Immortal camp whose positions had been exposed. It was obvious they all understood Xia Hong's intentions. Meanwhile, Xia Hong led Xia Chuan and Luo Yuan to directly approach. As they drew closer, the 3 clearly saw the true form of the enormous creature. It was a golden-eyed demon sheep, something all 3 were quite familiar with. However, this one stretched nearly 9 meters in length and stood 5 to 6 meters high at the shoulder, its stature comparable to a building. Its back was covered with white mane that hung down 4 or 5 meters on both sides, resembling 2 massive gray-white curtains. Most terrifying was its back, which bore 16 pairs of golden eyes as large as lanterns. 5 of these eyes had already been hit by iron arrows, and blood was gushing out. The remaining 11 eyes intermittently emitted blinding golden rays, like sharp arrows, targeting the person wielding the broadsword and the other archers hiding in the surrounding trees. The golden-eyed demon sheep's massive body made the ground tremble with its charge, with a force even greater than the snow mane from earlier, smashing the surrounding trees in its path. In just a short while, more than a dozen trees around had been smashed and knocked down, leaving no intact tree within nearly 100 meters. As they took a clear look at the golden-eyed demon sheep, Xia Hong and the other 2 also saw the person battling it clearly. Being too far away, they couldn't see his face, only that he was burly, dressed in black, gripping a giant broadsword about 1.5 meters long and over 20 centimeters wide with both hands. The broadsword looked exaggerated even in shape, despite its lack of an edge. Ordinary people probably wouldn't even be able to lift it. Yet in the hands of this person, it was as light as if it weighed nothing. He swung, blocked, chopped, smashed, and maneuvered fluidly. What's more, he could adjust his body using the momentum of the broadsword, continuously circling with the demon sheep, and even occasionally managed to inflict deep cuts on the demon sheep's body with the sword. Iron arrows from the trees around them continuously aimed at the demon sheep, targeting its golden eyes on the back, with one person's arrows being incredibly precise, always catching the golden sheep just as it tried to emit a blinding light to suppress the man in black, preventing the golden sheep from casting its strong light. Bam! The demon sheep seized an opportunity to lower its head and charge, catching the black-clad man off guard. With no choice, he raised the broadsword to shield himself, unwillingly being knocked into the air with the sword. Taking this opportunity, the golden sheep on the demon sheep's back simultaneously opened its eyes, ignoring the iron arrows shooting from the surrounding trees, and directly unleashed 11 beams of golden light at the man in black midair. Thud, thud. Roar. The sounds of 7 or 8 iron arrows piercing eyeballs echoed across the entire field, followed closely by the painful roars of the demon sheep. However, Xia Hong's gaze was fixed on the man in black, noticing a beam of light penetrating his abdomen, causing his eyebrows to twitch slightly. Brother, was he hit? Yes, he was hit. The man in black should be injured, and quite seriously. Although Xia Hong's eyebrows only twitched slightly, Xia Chuan and Luo Yuan beside him couldn't contain their joy, their faces lighting up as they spoke to Xia Hong. Hold on, don't speak too soon. They have considerable strength. This demon sheep is doomed. Though the demon sheep managed to injure the man in black, all 11 golden eyes on its back were taken out by a round of iron arrows. Roars, roars, roar. With all 16 golden eyes on its back blinded, the demon sheep seemed to have its last bit of ferocity ignited, its body leaping forward as it roared angrily. The black-clad man landed from afar, and had just torn a strip of cloth to bind his abdominal wound, when the demon sheep was already charging fiercely towards him. Boss. Brothers, we can't let this beast hurt the boss. This accursed beast's eyes are all blind. There's nothing to fear about it. Charge. Several roars were heard from the surrounding trees, and over 20 people leapt down, immediately charging towards the demon sheep. These people had bows on their backs, obviously the ones who had been shooting arrows moments earlier. They each held a large knife, exuding a fearless and robust aura as they charged with their battle cries. Of course they were fast. But the demon sheep was faster. The man in black, whom they called Boss, clearly didn't rely on these 20-plus individuals, and having bound his wound, he raised his broadsword to dodge sideways. This intermediate demon sheep had 6 sharp horns, each 2 to 3 meters long, and when it charged, its horizontal attack range was astonishingly large. Though the man in black was quick, humans inherently had size disadvantages compared to the demon sheep, not to mention being slower than it. Thud. Just as Xia Hong anticipated, the man in black's left shoulder was directly pierced by one of the demon sheep's horns, yet the following scene completely exceeded Xia Hong's expectations. The man in black with his left shoulder pierced didn't hesitate for a moment, grabbing the broadsword with both hands. He swung it downward, circumventing the demon sheep's horns, and went for its neck. Thud. This strength surpasses mine. Watching the descending broadsword being thrust more than half a meter into the demon sheep's neck, Xia Hong's pupils contracted, his mind slightly shaken. He had just experienced how the skeleton and surface of an intermediate cold beast were back then. Seeking to pierce the throat at that close range required an explosive force of no less than 40,000 pounds, by his estimates. Even with his long fist technique, he could only exert a force of 36,000 pounds at most. This man in black clearly had greater basic strength than himself. With the broadsword embedded in its neck, the intense pain caused the demon sheep to stagger. It tried to stabilize its body by forcing its limbs, but the 20-some people coming down from the trees didn't give it the chance. The 20 individuals divided their tasks clearly, with 10 charging at its head, and the remaining 10+ dividing into 5 groups, attacking its limbs and tail. Due to the demon sheep's massive size, they had barely made a few slashes before its casually bouncing limbs kicked them away. Broken bones, spitting blood, severed hands, severed feet, knives kicked away, bodies thrown over 10 meters away, some even severely injured or unconscious, unclear if alive or dead. The fate of those 20 or so people was none other than these outcomes. What shocked Xia Hong, Xia Chuan, and Luo Yuan was that, aside from those severely injured or unconscious, everyone else who could move, without exception, picked up their knives and charged back into the fray. They seemed entirely unafraid of death. With the continuous assault of 20+ people and the relentless broadsword strikes to the demon sheep's head by the leading black-clad man, over 100 breaths later, the demon sheep's limbs finally began to tremble, and its body started to sway with exhaustion. Hold on just a bit longer, brothers, quickly. This demon sheep is about to fall. The more I hit it, the blunter it's become, damn it. No worries, we can sharpen it when we get back. Iron is nothing. Boss, how are you? Seeing the demon sheep teetering, those still swinging knives around excitedly cried out, with one person even showing concern for the man in black, asking with a hint of worry. I'm fine, all of you withdraw for now. this demon sheep no longer has the strength to escape. Having been on the sidelines for a while, Xia Hong, Xia Chuan, and Luo Yuan heard the black-clad man speak for the first time, and they were all taken aback. They didn't even realize the man in black paused in the middle of speaking. This man's voice was surprisingly young. No, it was excessively young. Judging by his tone, he seemed to be as young as Xia Chuan, just 16 or 17 years old. Let's welcome the friends from Great Xia together. The three up in the trees were a bit stupefied, but upon hearing the latter part of the black-clad man's words, their expressions changed slightly. He actually noticed them. Since they were discovered, they given up hiding and jumped directly down from the trees. With his gaze cast down, Xia Hong led the other two to walk slowly forward, stopping only when they were just over 10 meters away from the people. You've brought so many people trespassing into Great Xia territory and hunting without permission. This term, friend, Xia Hong, cannot accept. Chapter 193. Chapter 136. He Yuan Hun, Yuan Hu, Yuan Dao 3 in 1. From the beginning, He Meng and his group's arrogant demeanor. Until tonight, this group before us intruded into Redwood Ridge for hunting without permission. These two incidents have already determined that the Mirror Immortal camp could not possibly become a friendly neighbor, and it is highly likely that they will compress the survival space of Great Xia. Despite the hunting of the demon sheep just now, this group showed a fierce fighting spirit that feared no death, which made Xia Hong feel a bit of admiration. But an enemy is still an enemy. Any enemy that might threaten the survival of Great Xia, whether it's a cold beast, deceitful monster, or human, Xia Hong would mercilessly kill them if necessary and capable. As Xia Hong dare not accept. The previous words had already made Xia Hong's tone extremely low, and anyone could hear the surging anger within it. The last 7 words of Xia Hong were even more bone-chilling cold. Xia Chuan and Luo Yuan both thought he was about to give the order to act, so they drew out the sabers from their bodies and took a step forward in unison. Great Xia territory, isn't this the territory of Lu Shang camp? Lu He already said that this area was given to the Mirror Immortal camp. When did it become your Great Xia territory? We haven't even pursued the matter of Great Xia driving the rodent herd into the Arrow Bamboo Forest last time, and now you turn it around and accuse us of trespassing on your territory. Ha ha ha, ridiculous. What a bullshit. Great Xia, just eyeing our prey and harboring ill intentions. Just 3 people, even if I'm injured I'm not afraid. Boss, no need to talk, let's show them what's what. The people from the Mirror Immortal camp had a tough time hunting the demon sheep just now, with over 20 people down to just over 10, and now only 9 were still standing. And these 9 were mostly injured. Some were even standing only with support. Yet even so, upon hearing Xia Hong's slightly icy words, not a single one of them showed fear. Instead, they all boldly retorted. A few with relatively nimble legs seemed to find mere rebuttal insufficient, and like Xia Chuan and Luo Yuan, they also drew their sabers and took 2 steps forward. Their reaction was more intense than even Xia Hong's 3, with an air of willingness to fight to the death at the slightest disagreement. Xia Hong lowered his gaze, and combined with the fierceness shown by this group during hunting, such a reaction now did not surprise him. At a distance of more than 10 meters, Xia Hong could already make out most of their faces, and the He Meng he dealt with during the last Arrow Bamboo Forest altercation was not among them. But from the few loud voices he heard just now, someone from that time must be present. He Meng brought 14 people last time. Xia Hong focused his gaze on the man in black, surrounded by the 9. Matching the voice he just heard, the man in black did indeed look very young. With thick eyebrows and a broad face, the expression on his face was as calm as still water, and the form-fitting black strong clothes highlighted his sturdy physique. Perhaps to conceal the wound on his shoulder, he held the hilt of a broadsword stuck into the ground, standing straight like a tall pine, motionless. He looked at most around Xia Chuan's age, but his steady and seasoned presence was not one of a young man. While the 9 around him were visibly older, some even appearing middle-aged, their demeanor and behavior, and possibly even their strength, made them seem younger than him. As Xia Hong watched the man in black, naturally, the man in black was also watching him. Their gazes met in the air for a brief moment. The man in black's expression gradually relaxed, a slight smile appearing, and he clasped his fists, speaking brightly. Last time I heard from He Meng that there's a Great Xia camp near Redwood Ridge, and that leader Xia Hong is unparalleled in bravery. leading a group to slaughter the rodent herd terrified and fleeing, nearly entering the arrow bamboo forest. I held respect in my heart, intending to visit in a few days, only to unexpectedly meet here tonight ahead of time. Mirror Immortal Camp, Yuan Dao meet leader Xia. Xia Hong's somber face stiffened for a few seconds. He considered that Yuan Dao might react more intensely than the other 9. Even directly taking action was not impossible. No matter what, he did not expect that Yuan Dao would actually be so polite. Of course, after stiffening, Xia Hong became even more vigilant. Compared to He Meng and others from the Mirror Immortal Camp's straightforwardness, Yuan Dao was clearly a more troublesome character, despite his courteous tone. Though his words were polite, he alluded to the incident of the rodent herd nearly breaking into the arrow bamboo forest last time, clearly being tough within his mildness. Regarding the incident with the rodent herd, I had negotiated with He Meng last time. Mirror Immortal Camp has occupied arrow bamboo forest for only 3 months, without notifying Great Xia beforehand, and the whole incident did not really cause any losses to the Mirror Immortal Camp. More crucially, the rodent herd never entered the arrow bamboo forest in the end. You think you can brush this off? I'm afraid it's not that simple. Don't strike at a smiling face, since Yuan Dao was being so polite, expressing the intention of negotiating properly. Xia Hong decided to follow his lead, softening his tone slightly. Of course, it was just the tone that was softened. After saying the last sentence, he raised his right hand and waved slightly backward. Whoosh! 3 iron arrows flew through the air from the trees behind, piercing the ground 2 to 3 meters in front of Yuan Dao and his men. The iron arrows embedded 20 to 30 centimeters into the ground, making the sound of taut strings and resonating tales from the tremendous force very clear. Chapter 194. Chapter 136. He Yuan Hun, Yuan Hu, Yuan Dao 3 and 1/2. Yuan Dao, along with the 9 behind him, looked at the iron arrow on the ground, and then suddenly looked up at Xia Hong with a changed expression. From such a distance, to pierce the ground so deeply, the archer's skill definitely reaches the earth-digging realm. 3 arrows might not be much, but the problem is, who knows how many people and how many arrows are behind Xia Hong and his 2 companions. Yuan Dao's originally smiling face immediately became much more solemn, and his mood was no longer as relaxed as before. He took 2 steps forward and spoke in a deep voice. Leader Xia, when Lu He joined our Mirror Immortal Camp, he had already transferred all the original territory of Lu Shang Camp at Redwood Ridge to us. Didn't they tell you how Lu Shang Camp's territory came about? Before Yuan Dao could finish speaking, Xia Hong interrupted him directly. No need for so much nonsense. I'm not interested in explaining the affairs of Lu Shang Camp to you. Let's be straightforward tonight. Considering it's your first offense, I won't pursue it further. Leave the demon sheep and never step into Redwood Ridge again. I can let you go. Xia Hong was also disinterested in explaining, directly stating the conditions for letting them go. As soon as he proposed these conditions, the 9 people beside Yuan Dao reacted like their tails had been stepped on, each shouting angrily. You're dreaming. Boss, ignore him. We're not afraid to die. Let's fight him. We've been fighting all day, and you think you can take advantage for free. Dream on. Boss, absolutely don't listen to him. If he dares to kill us when the leader brings people over, his entire Great Xia camp will have to pay for this. At this moment, it wasn't just Xia Hong. Even Xia Chuan and Luo Yuan beside him, upon hearing the last person's words, their expressions immediately turned cold as well, and their gaze towards the 10 people became icy. Clap. Shut up. Before the last person could finish saying Barry, Yuan Dao angrily scolded him to stop, even turning around to slap him hard. The person was already injured, and this slap sent him flying 2 or 3 meters back, unable to even stand, falling directly to the ground. Leader Xia, my subordinate was out of line, speaking nonsense, please forgive us. After hitting him, Yuan Dao quickly turned around, bowing deeply towards Xia Hong and the others, while internally cursing those 9 as complete fools. Hearing no response from Xia Hong and his companions for a long time, Yuan Dao grew even more anxious and threw a glance at the large corpse of the demon sheep behind him, a look of pain flitting across his face, before gritting his teeth, lifting his head and saying, Leader Xia, we suffered significant losses to hunt this demon sheep. If we give away the entire prey, not to mention what my brothers would think, even I wouldn't be willing. How about this? I'll offer half of the blood from this demon sheep. Would leader Xia agree to this? In response to these words, the otherwise silent Xia Hong showed a slight change in expression. Evidently, Yuan Dao had noticed the unusual condition of Xia Hong's skin and realized that Xia Hong was at a critical moment of breaking through to the cold resistance level, desperately in need of intermediate cold beast blood. Was it better to accept half of this blood, leaving behind a group of potential enemies? Or refuse and with Xia Chuan, Luo Yuan and others, strike and eradicate Yuan Dao and his group of 10 right here? Big brother. Leader. Seeing Xia Hong in hesitation, Xia Chuan and Luo Yuan spoke up one after another. Xia Chuan's eyes were cold, while Luo Yuan was more direct, gesturing lightly across his neck. Understanding that both were urging him to give the order to attack, Xia Hong was somewhat moved. Although they had just fought and were not in peak condition, the 10 before them were in a much worse state. The severely injured Yuan Dao and the 9 earth-digging realm members barely standing. On their side, there were still 9 archers hidden behind the trees. Leader Xia Hong, if I'm not mistaken, the previous incident with the rodents, He Meng should have had quite a conflict with your camp. When he returned last time, he proposed to my leader He Yuanhun to lead people to the Great Xia Station to demand an explanation, but fortunately my father dissuaded him, so leader He did not agree. Yuan Dao's expression was slightly tense, clearly seeing the hesitation on Xia Hong's face, with cold sweat forming on his forehead. After saying the aforementioned words, he didn't forget to add, "Oh, and I haven't mentioned yet to leader Xia, our mirror immortal population exceeds 10,000, with hundreds at the earth-digging realm, and our camp is guarded by leader He Yuanhun and my father Yuan Hu, 2 cold resistance level experts. Leader Xia, my father has always believed that humans in the ice abyss world should support each other, thinking that enmities should be resolved rather than deepened. Mirror Immortal occupies Arrow Bamboo Forest and will be neighbors with Great Xia going forward. Even if we are not cordial, it's unwise to form deep grudges. Leader Xia, don't you think so?" He Yuanhun, Yuan Hu He Meng, 2 cold resistance level experts guarding. The once indecisive Xia Hong, upon hearing Yuan Dao's words, had a subtle change in his expression. Particularly when he met Yuan Dao's gaze, a hint of subtlety flickered and his heart wavered. Yuan Dao was superficially saying that his father, Yuan Hu, had persuaded He Yuanhun, preventing He Meng from carrying out his suggestion to retaliate against Great Xia, implying that his father had done Great Xia a favor. Yet this was obviously not enough for Xia Hong to let them go, as words without evidence hold no weight. Who knows whether his claim is true or not? The underlying implication in the middle part, however, truly moved Xia Hong. The Mirror Immortal camp, with a population exceeding 10,000, hundreds of earth-digging realm experts. This information, Xia Hong could already roughly estimate earlier, but Yuan Dao's final statement about the 2 cold resistance level experts guarding it caught Xia Hong's genuine focus. Chapter 195. Chapter 136 He Yuanhun, Yuan Hu, Yuan Dao 3 and 1/3. Adding to the subtle expression on Yuan Dao's face, it was evident he was hinting that within the Mirror Immortal camp, not everything was under He Yuanhun's control. Of course, the deeper implication was that if they killed him, his father, Yuan Hu, would undoubtedly change his stance. He Meng's proposal would be smoothly adopted by He Yuanhun, ultimately leading to a situation where the Great Xia and Mirror Immortal camps would be locked in an endless feud. Such a short statement, yet it cleverly blended softness and firmness. Not only did it clearly outline the immense benefits of Xia Hong and the others refraining from action, it also subtly threatened them with the consequences Great Xia would face if they chose to kill, leaving them without a hint of escape. Is this Yuan Dao really a young man? Although Xia Hong's face showed no emotion, his heart was quite shaken by Yuan Dao's mature and steady demeanor. No matter if Yuan Dao's previous words were true or false, at least his final remarks were valid. It's better to resolve animosities than to create them. In the future, the Great Xia will definitely be neighbors with the Mirror Immortal camp, and forming too deep an enmity will be detrimental to both sides. And killing the son of a cold resistance level expert clearly leads to an irreconcilable situation, which is unnecessary. Sneakily kill them without being discovered. Xia Hong shook his head. This is the ice abyss, not the normal world. If someone dies on your territory, you cannot evade responsibility. Evidence is not required. At this point, Xia Hong no longer harbored the thought of killing Yuan Dao and his group of 10. Even Xia Chuan and Luo Yuan, standing by his side, had considerably diminished their intent to kill. At this moment, there was no choice but to hope that what Yuan Dao said about Yuan Hu and He Yuan Han, the two cold resistance level experts, was true. The Mirror Immortal Camp's strength, whether or not it was as Yuan Dao claimed, was surely stronger than Great Xia before Xia Hong's breakthrough to the cold resistance level. At least this point is undeniable. Currently, Xia Hong dared to confront the Mirror Immortal Camp, because his greatest support was that the other party was unaware of Great Xia's camp location, only encountering them in the Redwood Ridge. However, this is not foolproof. If those in the Mirror Immortal Camp are truly determined, finding the valley is only a matter of time. The current conflict between the two sides hasn't escalated too much, so the Mirror Immortal Camp shouldn't expend great effort to locate Great Xia's camp. But in the future, the two neighboring camps will inevitably encounter each other, and judging by He Meng's group's stance, future conflicts will be unavoidable. Xia Hong has been urgently trying to break through to the cold resistance level during this period for this very reason. Before more intense conflicts erupt with the Mirror Immortal Camp, if Xia Hong doesn't break through to the cold resistance level, the outcome for the Great Xia camp cannot be good. Tonight he could surely kill Yuan Dao and his group of 10, but what then? If he couldn't break through to the cold resistance level in a short time? Xia Hong needs time, a lot of time. If it is indeed as Yuan Dao hinted, that there are factional struggles within the Mirror Immortal Camp, then the time Xia Hong can gain will be even greater. Moreover, Yuan Dao deliberately mentioned his father Yuan Hu's philosophy, which was clearly suggestive. It's highly likely that the camp leader He Yuan Han's philosophy differs from his father's. This could also explain why his father would stop leader He Yuan Han from adopting He Meng's proposal to cause trouble for Great Xia. Yuan Dao's gaze remained fixed on Xia Hong, his demeanor tense, his hands never leaving the broadsword, evidently waiting for his decision. Let the blood flow. After a long silence, upon hearing Xia Hong utter these 3 words, Yuan Dao immediately relaxed, his tension dissipating in an instant. He turned to instruct the others, his face breaking into a smile. Thank you, Leader Xia. Xia Hong only slightly cupped his fists, not showing any pleasant expression. While he admired Yuan Dao, the relations between the two camps could not yet be considered good. Sparing them tonight was a temporary measure. If he later discovered Yuan Dao had deceived him, any positive expression he showed now would be a colossal joke. Knowing Xia Hong's concerns, Yuan Dao didn't take it to heart. With an awkward chuckle, he glanced at Xia Chuan and Luo Yuan behind Xia Hong, showing a hint of curiosity before nodding to them with a smile. It was at this moment that he finally showed some signs of youth. This slightly childish behavior of Yuan Dao lightened Xia Hong's heart, significantly reducing the hostility in his eyes. Naturally, besides focusing on Yuan Dao, he didn't forget to observe how the other members of the Mirror Immortal Camp were letting the blood from the demon sheep. The group walked to the chest area of the demon sheep, slicing open the outer skin with a knife, and near its heart, they found a red blood vessel with a diameter of 3 to 4 centimeters. One person stepped forward to cut open the blood vessel, and the crimson blood gushed out immediately. The others held large leather bags to collect the blood, soon filling one bag entirely. Strangely, during the bleeding process, the demon sheep's originally enormous body, nearly 9 meters long, began to shrink slowly. After half of its blood was drained, its body had already shrunk by 1 or 2/10, leaving only a length of over 7 meters. Although this scene piqued Xia Hong's curiosity, he didn't ask any questions, nor did his face show any unusual expression, the same with Xia Chuan and Luo Yuan. The 3 even deliberately turned their heads to conceal their curiosity. No way around it if they asked. It would confirm it was their first time witnessing an intermediate cold beast being bled. It would not only expose Great Xia's strength, but also instantly lower their prestige. Chapter 196. Chapter 136. He Yuan Han, Yuan Hu, Yuan Dao 3-1/4. Leader Xia Hong. Soon, Yuan Dao tossed over the sealed bag of cold beast blood. Xia Hong reached out and caught it steadily, estimating it to be about 30 or so pounds. Considering the previous handling of low-level cold beasts, and estimating from the size of an intermediate cold beast, the blood volume seemed about right. After receiving the blood, Xia Hong did not leave immediately. He looked at Yuan Dao, his expression gradually becoming solemn, and spoke in a deep voice. Since the misunderstanding tonight has been resolved, I shouldn't say much. However, Brother Yuan, as you yourself just mentioned, you also believe that our two camps should maintain good neighborly relations. Then please, help me convey a few words back. The previous rodent swarm incident was entirely a misunderstanding, and any discerning person can see clearly that we, of the Great Xia, have no intention of bearing a grudge against the Mirror Immortal camp. Our two camps being neighbors is a fact, and though we may not speak of living in harmony, we should at least avoid unnecessary disputes and conflicts. In the future, I will also ensure that the people of our camp do not venture into any area of the Arrow Bamboo Forest, and I ask that the people of the Mirror Immortal camp do not cross the boundary to intrude upon our Redwood Ridge. What happened tonight should happen only once. If it happens again, the Great Xia camp will show no mercy. Do not say I did not warn you. All right, Leader Xia Hong's words will definitely be passed on. Yuan Dao quickly nodded in response, and when he looked up again, he found that Xia Hong and his three companions had already retreated into the southern dense forest. At the same time, rustling noises came from several surrounding large trees, clearly from the archers Xia Hong had brought. 123,456,789. Yuan Dao closed his eyes, counting silently, and only after the noises from the trees completely disappeared did he open his eyes, looking in the direction where the people of the Great Xia had vanished, and heaved a deep sigh of relief. 9 earth-digging realm archers. Thankfully there was no conflict. He glanced at the wound on his shoulder, a flash of relief appearing on his face. The change in Xia Hong's expression just now had been closely monitored by him, and if the other party had changed his mind, the outcome tonight would have been completely different. The other 9 people also relaxed a lot at this moment, but most of them still had a hint of discontent on their faces, clearly still brooding over the half of the cold beast blood. All right, your lives are saved. What are you sulking for? As soon as Yuan Dao finished speaking, the 9 of them immediately burst into laughter. One of them even ran to the back of a large tree on the north side and slowly dragged out a huge object. It turned out to be a dead snow mane corpse. Ha ha ha, this Xia Hong would never have expected that we actually had another prey hidden here. The person dragged the snow mane next to the demon sheep, unable to help but laugh out loud. Upon hearing this, Yuan Dao turned his head to look in the direction Xia Hong and his companions had left, his face also gradually revealing a smug smile. Ha 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 ha, if I weren't afraid this snow mane would also be discovered, I wouldn't have handed over half of the cold beast blood so easily. But this leader of the Great Xia is very smart and must not be underestimated. Yuan Dao turned back to look at the 9 people, a deep glint flashing in the depths of his eyes. All right, pack up and leave quickly. Let's head back to report to the Great Leader and Second Leader. From now on we will have to engage with the Great Xia camp. The group quickly packed up the 2 pieces of prey and also carried away those who were unconscious or had lost their lives, and only then did they follow Yuan Dao towards the outskirts of the Redwood Ridge on the east side. On the other side, Xia Hong, who had obtained half a bag of cold beast blood, led Xia Chuan, Luo Yuan, and 11 others to find Zhu Shun, Qiu Peng, and 4 others, happily returning to the valley base. Chapter 197. Chapter 137, Attempt to Break Through, Dispute Trinity. Hiss. What a large snow mane, how can it be so big? This is an intermediate cold beast. An intermediate cold beast, really hunted an intermediate cold beast. Why is the leader so bloody and battered? He must be injured. Zhu Yuankai and Zhu Shun are unconscious too. At the Great Xia Station, as Xia Hong led the team back to the valley, it immediately caused an uproar among the people waiting outside. As they shouted, people in the wooden houses rushed out one after another. Everyone gathered around the enormous corpse of the snow mane, their eyes filled with shock and emotion. Both eyes of the snow mane had been shot blind, clearly absolutely still, completely dead, yet it still gave everyone a shiver deep inside. Tusks 2 or 3 meters long stained with blood. A body filled with knife wounds and holes. And a snow mane's head riddled with scars. All highlighted the breathtaking battle the hunting team had just experienced. Most people knew that the hunting team went out tonight to find an intermediate cold beast. When they left, many in the camp were quite worried. But then they thought they were only going to search, not to hunt, so nothing major should happen. Who could have imagined? They actually attempted to hunt an intermediate cold beast. And they succeeded. Everyone's eyes shifted from the snow mane to the members of the hunting team, and lastly, all focused on their leader Xia Hong, filled with awe and admiration. Some even carried a hint of fanaticism. Of course, some also noticed the gravely injured and unconscious Zhu Shun and Zhu Yuankai, as well as Xia Hong, whose face was horrifically burned by beast blood. Don't crowd here. Take Zhu Shun and Zhu Yuankai inside first for treatment. Xia Chuan, get the team to carry the prey up for processing. Everyone else injured in the hunting team, go back and rest immediately. Mu Dong, prepare a 2-meter diameter wooden barrel and bring it to my room. As soon as Xia Hong finished his words, he rushed upstairs with the bag of blood. The others were still a bit confused. Only Xia Chuan and the rest of the hunting team looked up at him, their faces showing a hint of worry. Earlier in Redwood Ridge under dim light and in a rush, they hadn't noticed, but outside Redwood Ridge, they clearly saw the terrible state of Xia Hong's skin, scorched by the cold beast blood. Will the leader be all right? Luo Yuan couldn't help but ask in a low voice. Xia Chuan thought for a moment, shaking his head. He should be fine. If something were really wrong, he couldn't have held on for so long just now. Quickly go draw the blood. Big brother should attempt to break through to the cold resistance level soon. Luo Yuan's worry immediately vanished, replaced with excitement. The leader is about to break through to the cold resistance level. Hiss. On the third floor back in his room, Xia Hong. As soon as he sat down on the chair, he reached up to touch his facial skin. With just a light touch, intense pain instantly surged through his mind. All my skin's been burnt off now. I'm really disfigured. Xia Hong walked to the small wooden barrel in the room, glancing at his reflection on the water surface. His pupils showed a touch of horror. His face had large areas of burns. No good skin could be found, only flesh, with his features so exposed that if not dyed with blood, it would look several times more terrifying. Even though it hurts, it's obvious that my skin is constantly recovering, and the speed is getting faster. Just this burning sensation hasn't subsided at all, and it's getting worse. Xia Hong looked down at his own skin, already showing a few tiny white spots. Although the speed was slow, the white spots were spreading noticeably. And as the white spots spread, he could clearly sense his basic strength increasing continually. Xia Hong clenched his fists, feeling the enhancement in strength. A trace of excitement gradually flashed across his painful expression. Indeed, strength can continue to increase. Luo Ming once said the standard for cold resistance level is to be completely exposed under the sunlight, fully referencing those 4 hours of daylight, meaning the breakthrough to cold resistance level isn't an overnight event, but requires the use of intermediate cold beast blood to continually reshape the skin until it is eventually perfected. And the standard of perfection is to last those 4 hours during the day. This wasn't a random guess by Xia Hong. When he saw Yuan Dao in Redwood Ridge just now, this hypothesis had already emerged in his mind. At this moment, feeling the skin remodeling process in himself, still entirely in the initial stage, he became even more confident in his conjecture. Yuan Dao's basic strength is likely above his own, but he was still hunting at night, yet to break through to the cold resistance level, which already explains it. This bag of blood weighs about 30 pounds, plus that snow mane should nearly add up to 100 pounds of cold beast blood. I wonder how much it can reshape my skin. The pain was clearly diminishing, yet Xia Hong's face showed no joy. His heart even felt somewhat empty. Because together with the subsiding pain, he also sensed the diminishing feeling of increasing strength. That exhilarating sensation, once experienced through training, is hard for anyone to refuse. Leader, the blood is ready. The wooden barrel is also done. Come in. Xia Chuan and Mudong carried a large wooden barrel inside. The barrel had a diameter of 2 meters and stood over a meter high, already filled more than halfway with scarlet blood, obviously newly taken from the snow mane they had just brought back. The two were afraid of the blood in the barrel spilling out, moving very lightly and slowly, gently placing it in the center of the room. Big brother, are you all right? Chapter 198. Chapter 137. Attempt to break through. Dispute Trinity /2. Xia Chuan put down the wooden bucket and turned to look at Xia Hong. Seeing his normal expression, he felt a little more at ease but couldn't help worrying. It's nothing, you all go about your business. In the next few days, unless there's something absolutely urgent, no one should come to disturb me. Yes, leader. Xia Chuan nodded in agreement and left with Mu Dong. After the two left, Xia Hong also carried the leather bag to the side of the wooden bucket, opened the bag, and poured all the more than 30 pounds of demon sheep blood inside. Xia Hong reached into the wooden bucket and instantly felt a burning sensation, but at the same time, the tingling and pleasurable sensation from the skin remodeling also surged forth. During this process of tingling and pleasure, the enhancement of muscle strength was unusually apparent, even more intense than the enhancement after consuming cold beast meat. A look of intoxication appeared involuntarily on Xia Hong's slightly pained face. This is probably what it means to feel both pain and pleasure. Let's see if 100 pounds can remodel my skin to what extent. With this thought in his heart, Xia Hong couldn't resist any longer and jumped naked into the wooden bucket. As soon as he jumped into the wooden bucket and his body was immersed in the blood, a sharp pain surged in his mind. Xia Hong felt as if his entire skin was being cut open, causing his veins to bulge. From low growls to screams, and finally to convulsive roars. His pained roars echoed both inside and outside the wooden house. Xia Chuan, who had just descended to the second floor and hadn't stayed there long, along with other members of the hunting team, heard the noises and all looked shocked, immediately rushing up. "Big brother, what's wrong? Leader, are you all right? We're coming in." Xia Chuan yelled once, preparing to force open the door. Yet inside, there came Xia Hong's intermittent low growls. No need, don't come in, I am fine, The crowd gathered outside looked at one another in dismay. No need to worry, I'm fine, everyone go about their own tasks. Although Xia Hong's voice was much calmer than before, Xia Chuan and the others outside could still hear the pain and suppression in his voice. Everyone's faces were full of concern, but they didn't dare rush in and could only shift their gaze to Xia Chuan at the front. "The leader says he's fine, so he's fine. Return to your tasks. I will stand guard here and I'll notify you if anything happens." Xia Chuan dispersed the crowd, remaining at the door himself. Though worried, the crowd could do nothing but depart. I'm hiss. Standing outside the door, Xia Chuan heard Xia Hong's painful hisses from inside, and although he understood that Xia Hong was trying to break through the cold resistance level using cold beast blood, he couldn't help worrying. There's no precedent to follow, and no information about how to use intermediate cold beast blood properly. Big brother attempting a breakthrough like this is too risky, if not for that damned mirror immortal camp. Xia Chuan clenched his fists, a look of hatred gradually emerging in his eyes. If not for the sudden emergence of the mirror immortal camp forcing Xia Hong to break through cold resistance level in a hurry, he wouldn't be taking such a risk. With enough time, he could have gone to the hive camp to investigate proper methods before attempting to break through. Thinking this way, Xia Chuan naturally held no good feelings towards the mirror immortal camp. Yet no amount of hatred could help him now. He could only wait for Xia Hong to finish. Hiss nah. Though Xia Hong's voice seemed to weaken, and the frequency decreased over time, the painful and suppressed low growls continued unabated. From dusk to dawn and into the night. Until the first year of the Great Xia, January 26th. Only after 2 days of continuous screams did it finally stop. When the sound ceased, Xia Chuan was initially worried. But when he pressed his ear against the door and heard Xia Hong's rhythmic breathing inside, he immediately relaxed. In fact, hearing Xia Hong's breathing was now even steadier and deeper than before, leaving Xia Chuan with a look of expectation on his face. Unfortunately, Xia Hong didn't come out immediately. Xia Chuan could only continue to stand watch by the door. North of the arrow bamboo forest lies a vast, seemingly endless plain. But on the eastern side of the plain, there is an oval-shaped basin that dips inward. The basin is approximately 5 to 6 miles in circumference, with the deepest part about 10 meters below the ground level. It is surrounded by a dense ring of transplanted arrow bamboos, enclosing the basin tightly. Each of the front and back sides of the basin has a road leading directly to the ground, just over 2 meters wide, also flanked by arrow bamboos, allowing no more than 2 or 3 people to walk abreast. It's evident that there is a human settlement within this basin. Indeed, several dozen houses made of a mix of green bamboo and round wood are clustered inside the basin. The houses are organized into left and right sections, each with 4 rows of 5 houses per row, and roads constructed around each group of 5 orderly and tidy. People come and go, talking and laughing, showing that the population is quite sizable. In the very center of these wooden houses, a giant bamboo tower over 20 meters tall stands out. Unlike the green bamboo used for the other houses, this tower is constructed from snow-white bamboo. The snow-white bamboo has an eerie sound to it. Judging from the bamboo tower's exterior, it does appear so. The bamboos, each with a diameter of about 1 to 2 meters, are not only snow-white in color, but also densely covered with 10-centimeter long sharp spikes on the surface, only obscured by the thick snow cover, making them less noticeable. Chapter 199. Chapter 137 Attempt to Break Through, Dispute Trinity/3. The bamboo tower is about 10 meters wide, divided into 3 levels, with a massive iron pillar over 3 meters in diameter positioned at the center that runs straight from the base to the top of the tower. The bottom of the pillar has holes and slots where coal stones burn brightly, providing a continuous source of heat throughout the entirety of the bamboo tower's interior. The bamboo tower is also highly insulated, not allowing any warmth to escape. Though covered with thick snow outside, inside it feels warm like spring, not cold at all. The third-floor hall of the bamboo tower is currently packed with over 100 people. Yuan Dao and his group, returning from Redwood Ridge, recounted everything that had just happened, and several individuals beside them immediately stood up, indignant. Second leader, is that Xia Hong so arrogant, and we're still going to tolerate it? A mere earth-digging realm dares to be so disrespectful to our mirror immortal camp. What's tolerable and what is? Their camp should be just on the east side of Redwood Ridge, so what are we waiting for? Young Master Dao also said that Xia Hong already has murder in mind, so are we still going to put up with it? That's just cowardly. That great Xia at most is just a large camp. If you ask me, say no more, just go there, kill Xia Hong and take in the rest of their people. The great leader already mentioned it, keep expanding the camp, increase the population. We've just crossed through the arrow bamboo forest and encountered this great Xia camp. It shows heaven's favor on us. Second leader, a chance not to be missed. Opportunities like this won't come again. Yet, all right, shut up. Your tempers are getting bigger by the day. At the top of the hall, there are 2 large white bamboo chairs. The one in the center is empty, while the one slightly lower on the left is occupied by a middle-aged man. The middle-aged man has thick eyebrows and a broad face, his expression calm, dressed in black, with a gigantic broadsword at his side as well, bearing a 7-part resemblance to Yuan Dao. From his appearance and his action of scolding everyone to be quiet, it is clear that he is indeed Yuan Dao's father, the second leader of the Mirror Immortal camp, Yuan Hu. Yuan Hu scanned the emotionally charged crowd below, focused on He Meng, raised his eyebrows slightly, then looked at his son Yuan Dao, pondered for a moment, and asked in a low voice, "Are you certain that Xia Hong's strength isn't even a match for yours?" Yuan Dao pondered for a moment, then nodded and said, "Although I was injured at the time, and my perception may not have been accurate, his chi muscle movements were indeed no match for mine in my prime, barely crossing 30,000 pounds at most." Afterwards, I offered half of the cold beast blood, which he immediately accepted. This action is enough to prove that he is probably still in the stage of reshaping skin and is making less progress than I am. Yuan Hu shook his head, puzzled, and said, "The earth-digging realm's limit, just reshaping skin, with so little strength, and he dares to have you bring a message back, saying he wants to stay out of our Mirror Immortal camp's way." Upon hearing this, Yuan Dao also appeared puzzled, speculating aloud. "Perhaps he doesn't know the strength of our Mirror Immortal camp." After he spoke, he turned to glance at the furious He Meng and continued, "Did He Meng say last time that the great Xia camp has over 100 logging realm individuals, and everyone is equipped with bows and arrows? Maybe their iron supplies are sufficient, and they have quite a few individuals in the earth-digging and logging realms too." On hearing this, Yuan Hu immediately shook his head. With plenty of logging and earth-digging realm individuals, can they compare with Mirror Immortal camp? On the other side, He Meng couldn't help but scoff and speak up. "Young Master Dao, you give them too much credit. With that little strength, why would Great Xia compare to our Mirror Immortal? Not to mention over 100 logging realm, even if they had 100 earth-digging realm, before our Mirror Immortal camp, they are nothing but crumbling dirt and mud dogs. In my view, he's just got some spirit, no insight, and doesn't recognize his own weakness. Didn't Lu Shang say before, on the east side of Redwood Ridge, There was originally only one mid-sized camp, Rojal. Great Xia started as no more than a small camp. It's likely due to the prior matter with the wood puppet monster. Xia Hong took the advantage when Rojal camp suffered a huge loss to annex it, letting Great Xia gain power in one stroke on the east side of Redwood Ridge. Once Xia Hong gained power, it was inevitable for him to become conceited and fail to recognize his limitations. It's quite normal. The one speaking after He Meng was He Gang, one of the 15 who followed him through the arrow bamboo forest last time. As soon as he spoke, several people nodded immediately. This speculation seemed to be the most reasonable. Even Yuan, who couldn't help but somewhat agree. Only Yuan Dao shook his head directly after hearing this, and he spoke to his father. Father, that Xia Hong is thorough in his dealings, extremely cautious in character, and not arrogant at all, definitely not as He Gang says. He Gang's face showed a flash of anger upon hearing this, just about to retort, but Yuan Dao unexpectedly added another sentence. Moreover, from what I gather, leader Xia Hong is certainly not an overbearingly arrogant person. He even deliberately explained to me about the rodent swarm, saying it was a misunderstanding, so what Captain he said last time must be biased as well. At this point, even He Meng couldn't stay seated. Young Master Dao, Xia Hong almost killed you tonight. I am speaking for your sake, and you are defending that Xia Hong. Could it be that you've taken some benefits from their great Xia camp? On hearing this, He Gang's eyes lit up slightly, and he quickly followed up with a cold smile. I said, why did young Master Dao sneak out midnight with his men to hunt without notifying the leader? Feels like there's something you're hiding. Chapter 200. Chapter 137. Attempt to break through. Dispute Trinity /4. After listening to He Gang and He Meng, Yuan Dao, who had been calm, immediately changed his expression. He turned to look at the two, suppressing his anger, and said in a deep voice, I go out hunting, not wanting to take more of the cold beast blood share from the camp, to avoid being criticized by people like you, saying I can only rely on my father. Whether I have taken any benefits from the great Xia camp, you can ask those who went out hunting with me, some of whom are your people. Oh right, you are falsely accusing me, so naturally you wouldn't ask. After sarcastically finishing the last sentence, Yuan Dao walked to the two brothers, He Meng and He Gang, disregarding the injury on his shoulder, picked up his broadsword and directly pointed at them, angrily saying, And I warn you all from now on, anyone who dares to call me young Master Dao, even if the great leader is present, I will drag him onto the ring and settle life and death. Young Master Dao was not a respectful title, but a nickname given to Yuan Dao by He Meng, mocking him for relying on his father, Yuan Hu. At first, this nickname was only used privately, and although Yuan Dao disliked it, he had no choice. But tonight, He Meng and the others openly called him this, which he could not tolerate. Yuan Dao's voice was loud, filled with anger. Whoever dared to call him by that nickname again, he would indeed follow camp rules and take them onto the ring to settle life and death, and no one doubted this. Normally, in such a tense meeting, even if not intimidated by Yuan Dao's anger, He Meng wouldn't say anything more. But instead of shutting up, he boldly took on Yuan Dao's anger, refusing to back down. Do you think I, old man, would be afraid to get on the ring with you, Yuan Dao? Who are you trying to scare, or should we just get on the ring now? Though he said he wasn't afraid, He Meng dared not utter, young Master Dao again, but his confrontational attitude made Yuan Dao instinctively step forward. Just as he was about to agree to He Meng's suggestion to get into the ring, Yuan Dao glanced and saw his father above, gently shaking his head at him. He immediately calmed down, pondered for a moment, and finally stepped back. Heavy. Yuan Dao's stance made He Meng and the others believe he had conceded, and he sneered with a cold smile. All right, let's say no more. Yuan Hu from above stopped the quarrel and continued. No matter what hidden strength Daxia Camp and Xia Hong have, it's impossible for them to take Redwood Ridge for no reason. Since contact has been made, let strength speak. No matter what dealings Rogue has with Great Xia, and whatever agreements they may have, Lu Shang Camp's land belongs to our Mirror Immortal Camp, without a doubt. All hunting activities will continue as usual, and Redwood Ridge will not be neglected. If you encounter Xia Hong again, deliver this message to him. Tell him that if he truly wants to take Redwood Ridge single-handedly, let strength speak. Hearing these words, a smile appeared on He Meng's face. Letting strength speak was originally in line with his thinking. He Meng, thinking of something, showed a hint of ruthlessness and stepped forward to ask. Second leader, Great Xia has a large population. As the Great Leader previously mentioned the need to expand the population quickly. Why not just kill Xia Hong and bring all the people from the Great Xia camp into our Mirror Immortal camp? Upon hearing this, Yuan Hu did not respond but first turned to look behind the bamboo building. A look of hesitation flashed across his face. No need to kill. First try to persuade Xia Hong to willingly bring his people into our Mirror Immortal camp. That would be the best. Before Yuan Hu could finish, He Meng interrupted him and continued to ask. What if persuasion doesn't work? Yuan Hu looked at He Meng, frowning. He certainly knew what answer He Meng wanted to hear, but it didn't align with his principles, so he didn't answer. Seeing Yuan Hu not answering for a long time, He Meng grew more impatient and was about to speak. At this moment, a gentle voice as warm as jade came from behind the bamboo building. Dayar did well tonight, leading a team to hunt 2 intermediate cold beasts, and despite being seriously injured, he was able to negotiate and successfully bring back the 2 prey. Brave and wise, second brother, you have raised a good son. Everyone in the hall, upon hearing this voice, respectfully knelt down. Thank you for the praise, great leader. Facing the accolades from behind the bamboo building, Yuan Dao quickly bowed in response, with a calm expression and no change in his demeanor. But He Meng to the side clenched his fists, his face full of jealousy. Sitting at the top, Yuan Hu also stood up slightly, facing the direction of the voice with a slight bow. Great leader is too kind. The voice behind the bamboo building fell silent for a moment, then spoke again. Starting today, the camp will add another intermediate hunting team, led by Yuan Dao, to hunt intermediate cold beasts. The people in the hall erupted in discussion upon hearing this. Mirror Immortal Camp's hunting teams are divided into advanced, intermediate, and low level. The name implies that the level of the hunting team corresponds to the level of cold beasts they handle. The low-level teams need not be mentioned. There are many low-level hunting teams in Mirror Immortal Camp. Currently, there is only one advanced team, composed of 12 members, personally led by the Great Leader and Second Leader, both of whom are cold resistance level experts, along with 10 of Mirror Immortal Camp's strongest earth-digging realm experts. There were also 2 intermediate teams before, with those involved being among the stronger earth-digging realm experts in the camp. He Meng is the captain of one of those hunting teams. And now a new team is to be formed, personally led by Yuan Dao. It may seem he's just an intermediate hunting team captain, but with increased voice, the leader's favor, and even improved treatment, these 3 aspects are what every earth-digging realm expert in the camp dreams of. With the leader's words, Yuan Dao gained it all. Everyone turned to look at Yuan Dao, unable to hide their envy. He Meng, already full of jealousy, now had an even more distorted expression. And Yuan Dao, clearly not expecting great leader He Yuanhun to value him so highly, was visibly taken aback. Whether by killing or persuasion, as long as all members of the Great Xia camp are brought into our Mirror Immortal camp, I don't care what method you use. This matter, second brother, I entrust to you. He Yuanhun said these final words, and without waiting for Yuan Hu to respond, a sense of withdrawal seemed to emanate from behind the bamboo building. Yes, great leader. Yuan Hu responded with clasped hands, and everyone respectfully bowed. After a while, realizing that the leader was no longer paying attention to the hall, everyone slowly raised their heads. All right, as per the leader's instructions, do you two understand? Upon hearing Yuan Hu's inquiry, both He Meng and Yuan Dao nodded. The two turned to face each other, a strong sense of rivalry in their eyes. Chapter 201, Chapter 138, The Bizarre Mirror Immortal Goo Cold Resistance Level, 3-in-1. Mirror Immortal Camp, inside a wooden house next to the bamboo building. Yuan Dao sat cross-legged on a chair with his upper body bare. A middle-aged woman in a blue velvet jacket sat behind him, holding a bristle brush in her hand, dipping it into the blood in a bowl, and evenly applying it on his back. As the area covered with blood increased, the pain on Yuan Dao's face became more intense, eventually unable to suppress a hissing sound of pain. Hiss, mother, be gentle, that's enough. Applying 2 or 3 pounds today is fine, take it slowly. The woman, seeing her son's face twisted in pain, immediately put down the bowl and brush, and turned to gently caress the large wound on his shoulder with a heartache. Smack! The woman thought of something, her face darkened, and she slapped her son's other shoulder hard, angrily reproaching him. "You this reckless boy, don't even know your own limits. You dared to lead people to hunt intermediate cold beasts with such little strength. If you dare to secretly do such dangerous things again, I'll let your father beat you." Yuan Dao shrank his neck, chuckled, and said, "Mother, then you'll be disappointed. The leader just ordered the camp to add another intermediate hunting team, and your son, unworthy as he is, has been appointed the captain. From now on, I will specifically be responsible for hunting intermediate cold beasts for the camp." The woman immediately stood up, her expression even more worried. "Adding another intermediate hunting team and letting you be the captain. How can this be? With so much talent in the camp, why send you? Didn't your father talk to the leader to send someone else?" "No, I'm going to talk to your father." "No, no, no, mother, please don't." "Shut up, you rest well. I'm going to find your father now." Yuan Dao immediately jumped up from the chair, wanting to dissuade his mother from going, but before he could finish, he was sharply interrupted by the woman. The woman, her face furious, hurriedly walked out, clearly intending to go find Yuan Hu to vent her anger. Yuan Dao knew his mother's character well. Once she decided, not even 8 horses could pull her back, so he dared not speak further, only silently mourning for his father, obediently staying in the room. However, not a few minutes later, a head peeked through the door. "Where is your mother?" Seeing his father appearing sneaky, knowing his mother had already spoken to him, Yuan Dao couldn't help but chuckle softly. "You brat, you're laughing." Yuan Hu entered the room and upon seeing his son laugh at him, felt a loss of face. After a reproachful remark, he saw the cold beast blood and brush on the ground, became interested, picked them up, and began brushing Yuan Dao's body. "Hiss, father, it hurts, gently stop brushing." "Hurt with just this. When I broke through to cold resistance level, I used at least 5 pounds every day. This is nothing at this pace. You won't break through for 2 or 3 years. "Hiss. Plus, father, how old were you when you broke through? How old am I? In 3 more years, I'll only be 20. I'm not in a hurry to break through. Gently stop brushing, stop brushing." Yuan Hu, watching his son in pain, couldn't help but shake his head. But thinking of his son's age, he chuckled twice. Indeed, the son is still young. Even if it takes 2 or 3 years, breaking through to cold resistance level at 20 years old is much better than he was. With that thought, Yuan Hu put down the bowl and brush in hand, pondered for a moment, looked at his son, and asked solemnly, "What did you find out last night?" Hearing his father's question, Yuan Dao immediately became more serious and sat up, answering formally. Like before, among the 24 people last night, 19 had followed the leader in worshipping the mirror immortal. Those 19, whether facing intermediate cold beasts or Xia Hong, were utterly fearless, even in dire situations where death was certain. They weren't scared, as if embracing death without regret. Exactly the same as what happened with He Ming before. Yuan Hu, upon hearing this, his expression dropped and he continued to ask, "How many died last night?" "Out of 24 people, 9 are confirmed alive. Among the other 15, I checked on the way back. 7 were unconscious. The remaining 8 were definitely dead. If they could live again, then surely they are alive. Just as you left, I personally saw those 8 coming out of the leader's room and even greeted me. Although they were in critical condition, they were definitely alive." Yuan Dao, hearing this, his pupils suddenly contracted and his heart jolted sharply. Most of the people we brought have already followed the leader and worshipped the mirror immortal. If they truly gained the ability to be immortal, it's no wonder those people did it, but how can one attain immortality? When Yuan Hu said the last sentence, his voice was deep, and instead of asking his son, it was more like asking himself. As he spoke, his eyes seemed puzzled, yet a noticeable interest flickered through them. Seeing this, Yuan Dao quickly spoke to dissuade. "Father, don't believe it, humans can't have the power to be immortal. Even if the leader had extraordinary skills, he couldn't grant these abilities out of thin air. Those who have worshipped the mirror immortal and died once, no matter how convincingly they act, I can swear, they are absolutely not the same as before." He paused for a moment and continued. Chapter 202, Chapter 138 Mirror Immortal Strange, Cold Resistance Level, 3-in-1/2. When we just merged, the temperaments of the brothers He Ming and He Gang were not as irritable and violent as they are now. During the last hunt, you personally confirmed it, both were clearly dead, yet mysteriously resurrected. Doesn't that explain the issue? That mirror immortal is definitely related to the deceitful monster. I even suspect that the leader now may have already Be careful with your words, the leader is impossible. Yuan Hu directly interrupted his son, pulled out a silver-edged circular jade pendant from his bosom, and shook his head heavily. The leader cannot be associated with the deceitful monster, I can be sure. Several times he came near me, and this deception detection Jade had no reaction at all. He Meng, he Gang, and others who have died once indeed experience an enormous change in temperament, but the leader has always remained the same. As you heard today, he Meng proposed to kill that Xia Hong, and the leader did not agree, not only promoting you but also acknowledging your way of persuasion, letting you and he Meng compete fairly. Yuan Dao was suddenly speechless. He also believed in the deception detection Jade. He Yuan Hun's temperament has indeed not changed, still gentle and understanding like before, not like he Gang and he Meng. But with the recent events, saying that leader he Yuan Hun has no relation to the deceitful monster really does not add up. In this world, no one is unafraid of death, whether it is you, father, or me, nor even the leader. None is an exception. He Meng, he Gang, people in the camp, and even those from Ningzhu camp who merged over, all who have worshipped the mirror immortal become unafraid of death, which defies logic. Not to mention he Meng and others resurrecting, and the 8 people I saw with my own eyes last night. Even if the leader himself has no relation to the deceitful monster, that mirror in his hand cannot be unrelated. Father, please do not be swayed by the leader to worship that mirror immortal. Although the deception detection Jade could be considered ironclad evidence, Yuan Dao couldn't help but analyze it carefully and persuaded his father once more. Knowing his son was worried about him, a warmth rose in Yuan Hu's heart. He shook his head gently and said, "Rest assured, your father was once a leader too. I'm not so muddle-headed yet. He talked to me several times, wanting me to worship that mirror immortal too, but I have declined several times already, it's just." Speaking of this, Yuan Hu hesitated slightly and continued. More than half of the camp have already worshipped that mirror immortal, and more keep joining. If this continues, once the entire camp has worshipped, and only our family hasn't by then, whether to worship it or not will no longer be in our control. Upon hearing this, Yuan Dao's face immediately turned troubled. Outsiders are not tolerated anywhere, especially in such a massive camp population like Mirror Immortal S. When everyone in the camp truly accepts the Mirror Immortal, even knowing it relates to the deceitful monster, they will have to accept it. Fortunately, the leader has not yet forced others, currently only adopting a voluntary attitude. I have refused several times and he hasn't said much. Upon hearing this, Yuan Dao's eyebrows slightly relaxed, but he couldn't help but ask with confusion. The leader is such a wise and strategic person. How can he not see through that the mirror is related to the deceitful monster and actually believes in the resurrection? Yuan Hu pondered for a moment after hearing this, then leisurely asked in return, "Is it possible that you do not believe it at all?" This question stunned Yuan Dao into complete silence. He Meng, he Gang, and others who have worshipped the mirror immortal, anyone who has been resurrected once, their memories, cultivation, actions, and everything else are exactly the same as before, without a single visible difference. The only change is that their temperament becomes gradually more irritable. But even that point is actually within an acceptable range. If others were clearly told that worshipping the mirror immortal could grant the immortal ability, with the only side effect being a more irritable temperament after dying once and everything else remaining normal, who would not be willing? Who in the perilous ice abyss world isn't afraid of death? Seeing the indomitable spirit of those people hunting without fear last night, although Yuan Dao found it strange, he could not deny he was somewhat envious as well. If merely worshipping the mirror immortal could grant the immortal ability. All right, let's not talk about this anymore. That leader of the great Xia camp almost killed you earlier, but based on what you said, you seem to have a pretty good impression of him. Seeing his son becoming more engrossed in thought, Yuan Hu quickly changed the topic. That Xia Hong is quite reasonable, able to understand the implications in my words, a clever man. He handles matters cautiously and has a prudent character. If we could work together, he should be a strong asset. Indeed, I have a fairly good impression of him. Then you must hurry. He Meng has already notified the members of the hunting team to head to Redwood Ridge specifically. It seems like he intends to cause trouble for Great Xia. If you could persuade Xia Hong to lead his people to join the Mirror Immortal, it would save the camp a lot of trouble, not to mention that you'd gain a powerful assistant. Yuan Dao nodded first but soon shook his head and said, It's just a good impression. I'm not going to exhaust my efforts to save him. Persuasion is merely my duty, nothing more. From what I can see, he doesn't seem like someone who would be content with a subordinate position. I'll let Meng cause some trouble first, and persuasion should be more effective afterward. Hearing his son's mature and steady response, Yuan-Hu nodded slightly in approval, his face showing a bit of a smile. Chapter 203. Chapter 138 Mirror Immortal Goo, Cold Resistance Level, 3 in 1/3. First year of the Great Xia, January 27. As dawn broke, the valley's bonfire had already died out, and everyone gradually returned to their cabins to rest. The outside of the cabin was empty. Inside the cabin, Luo Yuan and everyone else from the earth-digging realm had just handed over the iron ore mined overnight to the camp supply station. The leader isn't awake yet. It's already the third day. Could something have happened? Shall we go up and check? Let's go. Since we need to go back to our rooms anyway, let's check on him. The rooms of the 15 people in the hunting team were all on the 3rd floor. Everyone agreed and went up together, intending to check on Xia Hong's condition. Why are you all coming up? Xia Chuan, who had been keeping watch for 3 days, looked a bit wan. Seeing the worried expressions on everyone's faces, she immediately understood and said with a smile, "Don't worry, the leader's breathing is getting louder. Quiet down and listen." Upon hearing her, everyone immediately fell silent, listening intently to the sounds inside the room. Who's who? The 5 senses of the earth-digging realm were beyond ordinary, and although they were separated by a wooden door, they could still hear Xia Hong's long and steady breathing inside. Moreover, this breathing was becoming longer and louder. Upon hearing this, everyone showed a hint of excitement on their faces. Breathing related to qi muscle changes, and the length was inherently related to the body's internal organ strength, which everyone in the earth-digging realm understood. Could the leader have had a breakthrough? It's possible. The breathing feels much longer than when I cultivate. Cold resistance level. Everyone looked at the wooden door with a glimmer of anticipation. All right, everyone disperse first and go rest. Wait for the leader to come out and then. Bam! Just as Xia Chuan was about to dismiss everyone, a banging sound came from behind the wooden door. Those who were about to leave turned back immediately upon hearing it. Even Xia Chuan turned back to look at the wooden door. Did the leader wake up? He should be awake. The noise sounds like he jumped out of a tub. Everyone waited for a moment, until Xia Hong's exuberant and excited laughter came from within the wooden door. The faces of those standing outside gradually revealed excitement and anticipation. Come on in. Hearing Xia Hong's voice, Xia Chuan was the first to push open the door. The others exchanged glances, followed behind and walked in. Wait, don't come over this way, just stay at the door. As the door opened, Xia Chuan and the others instinctively took a few steps back, their pupils constricting as they saw that most of the room was illuminated. The light was not firelight. The window on one side of Xia Hong's room was wide open. Sunlight streamed in from outside, lighting up more than half of the room. And Xia Hong stood beneath the window, his upper body still bare, basking in the sunlight with an expression of enjoyment on his face. Hiss! Though the cabin had an iron refining furnace for warmth, the sunlight streaming in through the open window brought a bone-chilling cold that had everyone involuntarily hissing. Xia Chuan, who had stepped too far forward, had part of his arm exposed to the sunlight, where a layer of frost immediately formed, and the nearby skin turned blue and black. The sunlight was still as piercingly cold as before, unable to be touched by them. Yet Xia Hong could now openly expose himself under the sun. The people in the shadows looked at Xia Hong's back by the window, filled with envy and reverence, as desires arose in their hearts. When would they be able to stand freely in the sunlight like Xia Hong? Leader, have you broken through to the cold resistance level? Luo Yuan couldn't help but ask. Xia Chuan and the others immediately looked at Xia Hong with anticipation. Evidently, they were also very concerned about this matter. No, but soon. Xia Hong turned to face everyone, his face full of smiles. Seeing Xia Hong's front, everyone was slightly taken aback. The great Xia camp was short of water. To be precise, humans in the ice abyss world were short of water. In extremely cold weather, encountering running water was nearly impossible. The only way to obtain water was by collecting snow on the ground, melting it at high temperatures, letting it sit for a while, and then using it after sedimentation. Because of the water shortage, Great Xia did not habitually bathe or wash, and because of the perennial frost environment, everyone, especially those frequently outdoors, had perpetually dry, cracked, and darkened skin. Previously, Xia Hong was about the same as them. But now Xia Hong's skin was not only cleaner, it was much more supple and textured, and under the sunlight it even had a sheen. Though his appearance hadn't changed in the slightest, just the change in his skin made Xia Hong seem like a different person in their eyes. Compared to the current Xia Hong, despite being clothed, they seemed like beggars. Xia Hong understood why everyone was so astonished. He also noticed his skin's change upon waking up. However, he wasn't in the mood to explain now, and quickly checked the new changes in the system. Camp Great Xia Level 0. Lord Xia Hong. Cultivation, Earth Digging Realm Perfect, Skin Remodeling Progress 2%. Territory Population, 1096. Resources, with 21 coal 0 iron 0 silver 0 gold 0. Buildings opened, 4 iron refining furnace level 2, wooden mannequin level 1, medicine decoction pot level 1, polishing stone level 1. Buildings not opened, 5 green bamboo fence, marking stone yellow earth, small wooden table, rough iron chain. Skin remodeling, I'm lucky that I stumbled upon it, used over 100 jinn and forced the system. Otherwise, by following the normal breakthrough routine, it would have taken years. Looking at the system's resource data all cleared, with only 21 units of wood resource left, Xia Hong's eyes showed both relief and lingering fear. 3 days ago, the moment he jumped into the blood basin, he realized that his actions were absurdly wrong. The pain experienced earlier when touching cold beast blood made him think that the worst of it wouldn't be too bad, and he could endure it. After all, when he hunted that intermediate snow mane, nearly his whole body was stained in blood, roughly amounting to 3 or 4 jinn. Upon entering the blood basin, the energy within the cold beast blood invaded his body like parasites from bones. The intense pain was 100-fold, or even 1,000-fold more severe than touching it earlier. Only then did he realize that the pain from cold beast blood increased with the amount used. Breaking through to cold resistance level indeed required intermediate cold beast blood, but using so much at once, no ordinary person could endure that excruciating pain. Unfortunately, by the time Xia Hong realized this, it was already too late. He never thought he could be so close to death. It wasn't until he was nearly passing out that the system suddenly gave a prompt. Detected that host's nerves have reached the limit. System resources can be consumed to alleviate some neural pressure. At that moment, Xia Hong felt like he'd never heard a better sound. The end result was that all the resources previously accumulated were nearly exhausted, with only the last 21 units of wood remaining. Before closing off, he nearly had 100,000 units of wood. During this time, he hardly used iron and coal. Iron had more than 5,000, and coal over 8,000. In a moment, they were all gone. He had originally planned to build the green bamboo fence and marking stone during this time, but now he could only manage a marking stone, while the green bamboo fence will have to wait. Losing so many resources at once was painful, but knowing that this function could significantly shorten his breakthrough to cold resistance level left Xia Hong feeling more excited. This was a tremendous advantage for him. As long as there were enough resources, the system could alleviate some of the pain from beast blood, allowing him to use beast blood more efficiently than others by far. However, noticing the newly appeared cultivation item in the system, Xia Hong's excitement disappeared immediately, leaving him dumbfounded. 100 jinn and only 2% progress, which means I need over 5,000 jinn of beast blood to complete the entire skin remodeling process. Over 5,000 jinn of beast blood. Estimating, that would require at least 100 intermediate cold beasts. Is this a joke? Xia Hong stood shocked, his face filled with disbelief, not even hearing Xia Chuan and the others calling him. Chapter 204, Chapter 139, Resource Gap Changes in the Camp 3-in-1. Leader, is it difficult to break through to the cold resistance level? Leader, is it difficult to break through to the cold resistance level? Xia Chuan asked twice. Xia Hongkai came back to his senses, saw the curious eyes of everyone, and without holding back, directly told them the method to break through to the cold resistance level. Of course, it was the normal method of using a small amount of cold beast blood, not like him who could use 100 pounds directly, as these people didn't have the system like him. Use a small amount, but leader, you. After hearing Xia Hong's method, Luo Yuan immediately looked confused and pointed to the large wooden tub in the room. The others also reacted, their expressions the same as his. Xia Hong had just said that you can only use a small amount of cold beast blood at a time, and if the amount is too large, the pain is something a normal person absolutely cannot endure. But he used over 100 pounds this time. What's up with that? Xia Hong didn't know how to explain to everyone, couldn't exactly reveal the system. After thinking for a moment, said, "My physique is different from ordinary people. When you reach the limit of 30,000 pounds, try the cold beast blood, then you'll understand." Though there was full of confusion in their eyes, seeing that Xia Hong was obviously unwilling to say more, they didn't ask further. Xia Hong at the moment was still preoccupied with the 5,000 pounds of beast blood and the massive resource gap that came with it. In the end, he could only chuckle bitterly twice, sighing helplessly. The blood content in other intermediate cold beasts, unclear. But based on the snow mane hunted last night, one snow mane gives only about 60 pounds. For 5,000 pounds of beast blood, at least 80 intermediate cold beasts are needed. 80 intermediate cold beasts. Using over 100 pounds of beast blood at one time requires consuming 10,000 units of wood, more than 5,000 iron, more than 8,000 coal. Adding it all up, if the resource consumption remains unchanged in the future, it means to break through to the cold resistance level, such resource consumption altogether requires 50 times. I thought once the breakthrough started, things would get easier, but instead, even bigger resource gaps appeared. This is just. Xia Hong didn't know what to say, looking at the cold, piercing sunlight outside the window, shaking his head helplessly. The breakthrough to the cold resistance level was much more challenging than anticipated, obviously requiring much more time as well. However, Xia Hong tightly clenched his fist, a tremor in his heart, looking at his own fists, his eyes gradually showing a spark of excitement. Correspondingly, the increase in basic strength is also extremely terrifying. He slightly turned his head, saw a group of Xia Chuan still not leaving, all curiously looking at him, suddenly stirred in his heart, walked to one side of the room and lifted the double-edged giant axe leaning against the wall with one hand. Lifting the giant axe with one hand was nothing remarkable. Xia Chuan and the others had basic strengths exceeding 10,000 pounds. Lifting it with one hand was not difficult. But the problem was, the 2,800-pound double-edged giant axe seemed weightless in Xia Hong's hand. Not only did he lift it with one hand, but he also wielded the axe handle wantonly around the room. Whoosh and whoosh and whoosh. The sound of the axe blade slicing through the air instantly filled the entire room. The powerful momentum created by swinging the giant axe caused the wooden floor to shake violently. Several times, when the axe blade was about to touch the floor, everyone couldn't help but hold their breath, fearing that if this axe were swung down, the floor on the third level would crack open. Despite wielding the axe with one hand, every swing of Xia Hong unleashed such tremendous force that it set the airflow in the room into a frenzy. The leader swings the axe so casually, I'm afraid I can't even withstand it. Xia Chuan, Luo Yuan, and all the others, facing the gusts kicked up by the giant axe against their cheeks, couldn't help but think this. After a long while, Xia Hong finally put down the giant axe and stopped. After laying down the giant axe, he hadn't even taken a single breath. The amplification should be 2,500 pounds. This is only 2% progress. If I complete the skin remodeling stage, to what level will my basic strength rise? No need for a force measure. Xia Hong slightly clenched his fist, accurately knowing his basic strength through sensing the changes in his chi muscle. Xia Chuan 15,000, Luo Yuan 14,000, Zhao Long 13,000. It wasn't just himself. Xia Hong turned back to look at Xia Chuan and others, observing their chi muscle dynamics. He could immediately perceive their basic strengths. After reshaping skin, the perception ability also greatly improved, especially in sensing changes in biological chi muscle. Discovering this further advantage of skin remodeling, Xia Hong was suddenly overjoyed. This wasn't an insignificant function. Previously during hunts, he had to engage to confirm the prey's strength. Now there's no need to engage, just observation suffices. It not only saves effort but also avoids many risks. Suddenly remembering something, Xia Hong turned to Xia Chuan, asking, "By the way, the essence blood from that snow mane." The moment Xia Hong mentioned essence blood, Xia Chuan knew what he was going to ask. He immediately responded before Xia Hong could finish speaking. "Rest assured, leader, when processing the prey 3 days ago, we already extracted the essence blood and had the wooden mannequin record it. I had previously instructed Tong Xinglong and the others that in the future, all new species brought back should be handled this way." Upon hearing this, Xia Hong nodded, feeling a surge of relief in his heart. No, not just relief. Xia Hong's eyes even showed a hint of excitement. When they brought back that snow mane 3 days ago, he was eager to try cold beast blood and forgot about the essence blood recording with the wooden mannequin. Fortunately, Xia Chuan was now familiar with the camp's building's functions, managing these matters well without his instructions. Chapter 205. Chapter 139. Resource Gap, Changes in the Camp 3-in-1/2. The basic strength of an intermediate snow mane should be around 90,000 to 100,000 jin. Without any iron tools, it's impossible for humans to hunt it barehanded. Based on the progress of his reshaping skin, the basic strength of the cold resistance level should be over 100,000 jin. To hunt an intermediate cold beast alone, probably only the cold resistance level can do it. This means that a wooden mannequin that can transform into an intermediate snow mane can fully act as a cold resistance level powerhouse within the radiation range of an iron refining furnace. Setting aside his own breakthrough, the biggest gain from this hunt should be the change in the wooden mannequin. Moreover, unlike the cold beast, as long as enough coal stone is provided, it won't get exhausted, and since it's a system building, there's a high probability it won't be damaged. This means the Great Xia Camp has gained a hardworking, tireless intermediate snow mane, which is immune to external damage and whose strength rivals a cold resistance level powerhouse. Xia Hong's expression grew more excited as he reviewed the wooden mannequin's description. Wooden mannequin level 1. Cultivation tool, activate with coal stone, can greatly enhance cultivation speed and increase martial arts comprehension. Special function 1. Can record cold beast species through essence blood, transform into any cold beast, and display the strength of an adult beast. Special function 2. Activated within the radiation range of an iron refining furnace, can follow commands and engage in autonomous combat. Consumption 1 coal hour. Upgrade conditions 3,000 wood, 6,000 iron. Upon seeing the upgrade conditions for the wooden mannequin, Xia Hong was immediately tempted. 3,000 wood is easy enough, while 6,000 units of iron, equivalent to 60,000 jin of iron ore, would take about 7 or 8 days of full-scale mining at the current camp's mining speed. Upgrading the wooden mannequin should bring quite a few surprises. Recalling the significant enhancement of functions when the small fire pit was upgraded to an iron refining furnace, Xia Hong grew even more eager for the potential upgrades to the wooden mannequin. In fact, if it weren't for the unexpected situation caused by this breakthrough, not only the wooden mannequin, but also the medicine decoction pot, polishing stone, and iron refining furnace were all structures Xia Hong planned to upgrade. Including the green bamboo fence, marking stone and yellow earth, which only require wood, coal, and iron, he was prepared to construct all of them. Given the current situation, there's no choice but to upgrade them. The changes in functionality after upgrading from the small fire pit to the iron refining furnace indicate at least the wooden mannequin should be the first to upgrade. The imminent threat is the unpredictable risk brought by the Mirror Immortal camp. Although he let Yuan Dao go, Xia Hong remained extremely cautious of the Mirror Immortal camp. Whether Yuan Dao's words were true or false remained to be seen. Xia Hong released him mainly to avoid major conflicts with the Mirror Immortal camp. After all, the Mirror Immortal is a colossal camp, housing over 10,000 people and boasting cold resistance level powerhouses. Although Xia Hong had harsh words for Yuan Dao, he understood that those words would have minimal impact. In a world like the Ice Abyss, the survival of the fittest is an inevitable principle, whether between individuals or between camps. Yet he had to speak assertively, as seen from He Ming's probing actions and aggressive attitude during their first encounter in the Arrow Bamboo Forest. If Xia Hong had shown any sign of submission or weakness, the outcome would have been disastrous. Equipped with the system, Xia Hong was determined not to integrate the people of Great Xia into any other camp. With this in mind, it was far better to adopt a tough stance initially, disorienting the adversary to buy more time. Hence, Xia Hong had spared Yu Wendao and let him convey the message back. He needed that time to achieve a breakthrough. Xia Hong originally intended that once he reached the cold resistance level, plus the system building's functionality, the threat from the mirror immortal camp would naturally be resolved. Unfortunately, he didn't anticipate such a complex process to achieve the cold resistance level. The procedure was not only complex, but also required an astronomical amount of resources. A short-term breakthrough was undoubtedly impossible. Thus, he could only pin his hopes on the system buildings. Previously, resource scarcity and the pressure from the rodent swarms meant most of the camp's coal and iron were exhausted by them. But now it's different, even excluding Xia Hong. The 15 Earth-digging realm participants, if they mined with all their might, could reach 12,000 coal and 6,000 iron per day. With some accumulation, they could upgrade all the relevant structures. Let's upgrade the wooden mannequin first. If that doesn't work, there are still several other structures. Solving the threat from the mirror immortal camp shouldn't be difficult. Resource extraction must continue, and hunting intermediate cold beasts should not cease. In fact, the wooden mannequin that can transform into an intermediate snow mane has practically resolved the threat from the mirror immortal camp in another way. Even if, as Yu Wendao claimed, the mirror immortal camp had 2 cold resistance level powerhouses, if they really found the Great Xia Station, the wooden mannequin would give them a tough time, let alone the camp's numerous people and iron tools. It's not like they'll bring everyone from the mirror immortal camp, cross the arrow bamboo forest, and attack the Great Xia Station at Redwood Ridge, right? Thinking of this, Xia Hong slightly shook his head, immediately dismissing this possibility. In the Ice Abyss world, launching a large-scale mobilization is unwise, especially across unknown territories. At least, the Mirror Immortal Camp's strength isn't enough for such action. Chapter 206, Chapter 139 Resource Gap, Camp Changes 3 in 1/3. From the 2 interactions with them, one can see. He Meng's group consisted of 15 people, who should have only been active in the arrow bamboo forest, but they were startled by a group of rodents and came out. Yu Wendao's group had a bit more, over 20 people, but the problem was, to hunt down that demon sheep, they lost quite a few. From these 2 times, it's clear the Mirror Immortal Camp is unfamiliar with the situation on Redwood Ridge, so every time they deploy very few people, and all are elites from the Earth-digging realm hunting team. Moreover, the 2 camps don't have any deep-seated hatred. The rodent incident was clearly He Meng's provocation, and the only existing dispute is over the ownership of the land from Lu Shang camp. The best scenario is that the harsh words I had Yu Wendao bring back have an effect, and they behave for a while, not venturing to Redwood Ridge. But the likelihood of this? Xia Hong shook his head. The likelihood of this is almost none. Barring any surprises, the Mirror Immortal Camp will ignore my words, and their people will continue to hunt in Redwood Ridge. And judging by He Meng's previous behavior, it's likely they'll keep crossing boundaries and provoke conflicts to extract greater benefits from Great Xia. After all, their strength is evident. The strong rule supreme, and this supremacy refers not just to status. Xia Hong frowned slightly, thought for a moment, and quickly made a decision in his heart. Avoid them, don't bother with Lu Shang's territory yet, concentrate on extracting resources and upgrading buildings, at least to ensure the safety of the camp. Secondly, I need to accelerate my breakthrough progress. Upgrading buildings can at most ensure the safety of the camp, but we can't just hole up inside and not venture out. To drive the Mirror Immortal Camp completely out of Redwood Ridge, we'll still have to speak with strength. Clarity in his thoughts, Xia Hong turned around to find that, except for Xia Chuan, everyone else had left. Where is everyone else? Stimulated by you, Big Brother, they're either cultivating or mining, all busy with their own tasks. Hiss. Xia Hong was about to reply with a smile, when a piercing coldness suddenly spread across his skin. He glanced down at his skin, which had begun to turn blue, and hurriedly shut the window, then draped on more clothes. Failing to break through to the cold resistance level, he naturally couldn't stay in the sunlight for long. It seemed like a long time had passed since opening the window, but actually only 5 or 6 minutes had gone by. With a 2% progress in reshaping skin, under this calculation, when skin progress reaches 100%, one can stay exposed for the full 4 hours of daylight. Xia Hong calculated this in his mind, glanced at the sky outside through the yet-to-be-closed window, and a peculiar expression appeared on his face. Why does this feel like it's calculated? Could there be some connection between the sun and the human body? This complex issue certainly couldn't be figured out with his current strength, and since he couldn't understand it, he stopped thinking about it and instead asked Xia Chuan. By the way, how are Zhu Yuankai and Zhu Shun's injuries? While hunting that intermediate snow mane, it feigned death and shot out spines from its back, injuring everyone, but Zhu Shun and Zhu Yuankai were unlucky enough to have spines pierce their bodies, causing them to pass out immediately. 3 days have passed since then, and he didn't know about their current condition. Zhu Shun is slightly better. He was pierced in the leg and is still having trouble walking. It might take another 3 or 5 days. Zhu Yuankai was pierced in the waist, which is more severe, and he's still bedridden, unlikely to get up before half a month. Xia Hong's face grew heavy. Though humans in the ice abyss world have bodies far superior to those of common people, and after reaching the logging realm and earth-digging realm, their self-healing abilities greatly enhance, they're still no match for the stronger cold beast's power. Any expedition always results in injuries, and it's especially severe for the hunting team, not to mention the collection and logging teams. Key to note is the current camp only has golden healing powder for treatment, no other remedial means. Regardless of how serious the injury is, applying golden healing powder followed by self-healing is the only option. Even for himself, the scar left by a rodent's tail on his face hasn't completely healed yet, and it'll probably take some more time. Right? Notify Cheng Feng. The collection team can go within 500 meters past Redwood Ridge to search for more medicinal materials. As we currently have sufficient coal stone, all the hunted game retrieved should be analyzed by the medicine decoction pot to see if we can synthesize more medicinal formulas. Relying solely on self-healing after injuries just won't do. Xia Chuan nodded thoughtfully, then added, "By the way, big brother, I've already begun expanding both the collection team and logging team." Only then did Xia Hong recall his previous decree. The logging team was limited to 80 people, the collection team to 40. With more and more people reaching the logging realm in the camp, and with both the craftsman workshop and camp supply station unable to accommodate so many, expansion was indeed necessary. By the way, how many people do we now have in the logging realm at the camp? Upon hearing this question, Xia Chuan immediately grew spirited, answering with enthusiasm. 312. Hearing this, Xia Hong instinctively felt surprised. If he remembered correctly, around the 20th, while forging the 10-stone iron bow in the blacksmith room, he heard there were 283 people, and now, in just 7 days, 29 more have leapt forward. The pace is still accelerating. The logging realm doesn't have much of a threshold, and most of the first batch to break through were around 20 years old. Basically, this whole batch has now broken through as well. Chapter 207. Chapter 139, Resource Gap, Changes in the Camp 3-in-1/4. The ones breaking through now are the second batch, mostly aged between 15 to 18 and over 25. This batch is just beginning, and I estimate that within a month, they should all break through. At that time, the total number of those at the logging realm will reach over 500. Upon hearing this, Xia Hong couldn't help but look invigorated. Over 500 at the logging realm. This would have been unimaginable a year ago when they were at the hillside cave, and now it's about to become a reality. Although those in the logging realm cannot hunt, they are no less important for gathering resources and logging for the camp. In critical moments, like the issue with the rodent infestation, those at the logging realm can also play a huge role. By the way, are there any new breakthroughs to the earth-digging realm? Of course, compared to the logging realm, Xia Hong was more concerned about whether anyone has broken through to the earth-digging realm. However, clearly, his expectations were a little too high. Xia Chuan shook his head slightly and replied, "Not at the moment. However, I have observed that Cheng Feng, Bai Dongying, Bai Wuding, Lin Kai, Lu Sheng, Su Ning, and Lu Yang all have a basic strength of over 9,000 pounds, forming the first echelon. Barring any surprises, they should be the first to break through. The second echelon beneath them is much weaker, with the highest at just over 7,000 pounds. It'll probably take them around 2 months to break through." Hearing the names of the first echelon, Xia Hong showed a hint of surprise. The first 4 are from Rojal Camp's logging realm and have a solid foundation, so it's not surprising they break through quickly. However, Su Ning, Lu Yang, and Lin Kai's inclusion made him a bit amazed. These three were among the first logging realm of Great Xia. While it's not surprising that their strength improved quickly, squeezing into the same echelon as the first four is impressive. Clearly, Xia Chuan read the astonishment on Xia Hong's face, smiling as he said, "Not only Lin Kai and the others, but do you know how many of the earliest Great Xia people are among the more than 300 in the logging realm?" Xia Hong shook his head, showing a slight look of confusion. 72. This figure made Xia Hong pause slightly. Then he showed a bit of disbelief, saying, "Are you saying that all but the younger ones have broken through to the logging realm?" Xia Hong hadn't forgotten that after the initial disaster, only 154 people from Great Xia were left. After excluding 76 who were too young, 78 remained. Excluding himself and subtracting the 5 from the hunting team, exactly 72 were left. Xia Chuan chuckled and nodded. With you leading, they dared not slack off at all. I've looked at these people. Their enthusiasm for cultivation is much crazier than others. Thanks to these leaders, others are following their example. That's why so many have recently broken through to the logging realm. Yet, unexpectedly, it was his influence that played a role. Xia Hong was at a loss for words momentarily, shaking his head, but he immediately understood. As the earliest people from Great Xia, with Xia Hong as their leader, they carried a sense of superiority. This sense naturally needed to be reflected in their strength, so their drive to cultivate was naturally more intense than others. That's good too. Encouraging others to cultivate is also a great thing. After pondering for a moment, Xia Hong realized that the earth-digging realm would not grow in the short term, so he could only wait patiently. Such matters couldn't be rushed. If it can't be rushed, then he might as well prepare for other matters first. You take charge of the expansion of the collection team and the logging team. I won't inquire anymore. Inform Bai Dongying that unless there's a special situation, the entire logging team must head out every night to maximize cutting speed. Do you need a large amount of wood resources? Xia Chuan immediately picked up on the hinted urgency. Xia Hong needing resources wasn't unusual in the camp. Whenever structures appeared out of nowhere, encountering wood, iron ore, and coal stone, those materials would vanish instantly. The implications were clear. Yes, not just wood. I also need a lot of iron and coal. This is related to how quickly I can break through the cold resistance level. At this point, Xia Hong paused for a moment before continuing. The logging team's tasks should be doubled directly. If there's no special situation, members of the collection team should join in logging as well. Additionally, starting today, the hunting team will stop hunting low-level cold beasts and venture out every 3 days, with me personally leading to hunt intermediate cold beasts. The rest of the time will be entirely devoted to mining coal and iron ore. We'll proceed like this until I break through the cold resistance level. When Xia Chuan heard that resources were linked to Xia Hong's breakthrough speed to the cold resistance level, his expression turned solemn. He began pondering how to enhance the efficiency of resource acquisition for everyone involved. By the time Xia Hong finished his last words, Xia Chuan nodded, showing approval. The threat from the Mirror Immortal camp was right at their doorstep. Xia Hong breaking through to the cold resistance level was now the most critical issue for Great Xia. He believed that both he and the rest of the camp would understand this. All right then, you go ahead and notify everyone, starting now. Let me know when Zhu Shun and Zhu Yunkai recover. Yes, brother. Chapter 208. Chapter 140 Mining Competition. The hunt begins 3-in-1 mega chapter. All camp members from now on, no contribution points will be given for going out. The logging team members must bring back at least 10,000 pounds each night. The collection team, at least 5,000 pounds. Members of the camp supply station and the craftsman workshop, if they have no tasks at hand, must also go out to log. Including myself, all 15 members of the hunting team, apart from going out to hunt with the leader, must spend all other time mining. Even for meals and sleep, we must stay in the mines. After leaving Xia Hong's room, Xia Chuan immediately convened Mu Dong, Cheng Feng, Bai Dongying, and all members of the hunting team. Except for Zhu Yunkai, who was severely injured and couldn't get up, even Zhu Shun, who was temporarily unable to walk conveniently, was present. Their faces showed some confusion upon hearing Xia Chuan announce the new rules. It's not that it's difficult. Although metal tools aren't widespread yet in Great Xia, logging tools like saws and axes aren't lacking. The logging team basically has one tool per person. A 10,000-pound timber load considering the weight of the smallest tree at Redwood Ridge is just 2 trees. Sawing 2 trees in one night isn't too difficult for those in the logging realm. The problem is after cutting down the trees, they must be brought back. Even when 2 people work together, making 2 round trips in one night at the most, 10,000 pounds is close to, if not at, the limit for the logging realm. Lord Xia, isn't there an abundance of timber resources? Bai Dongying was the first to ask. He is the captain of the logging team, and Xia decision needs to be conveyed by him to all logging team members. With this sudden change, he naturally needed to ask for the reason. As soon as he spoke, Cheng Feng, the captain of the collection team, also spoke up. My lord, for the collection team, 1 tree is nothing, but at the current camp's logging efficiency, with so many people logging crazily, I'm afraid the valley will be completely filled in a few days. Can we use all this timber? The 14 members of the hunting team, although silent, had mostly confused expressions, clearly also at a loss for understanding. The camp doesn't lack timber, and there's no dire need to mine iron ore and coal mines so frantically. The previous intense mining was due to the rodent swarm. Recently, there hasn't been any matter requiring this kind of crazy mining, right? No, there is something going on recently. Isn't the leader attempting a cold resistance level breakthrough? The hunting team members, realizing this, suddenly had some speculations arise, and all looked at Xia Chuan. Chuan, are these resources for the leader's breakthrough? Not just Luo Yuan. When imagining Xia Chuan being the last to come down from upstairs, they all associated these resources with the leader's breakthrough. Cheng Feng and Bai Dongying, although confused, immediately thought there might indeed be a connection, seeing the serious demeanor of the hunting team members, and also turned their attention to Xia Chuan. That's right. Xia Chuan had no intention of hiding it from them and nodded directly, continuing in a deep voice. For the leader to break through to the cold resistance level, besides a large amount of intermediate cold beast blood, it also requires a massive amount of resources: wood, coal, and iron. All 3 are needed. During this period, all other camp activities can be paused. Focusing on gathering the necessary resources for the leader's breakthrough is the priority. Upon hearing this, Luo Yuan immediately nodded solemnly, saying, Of course, we've already offended the Mirror Immortal camp, which has 2 cold resistance level experts. If the leader becomes a cold resistance level expert sooner, we can all stand taller. Yuan Cheng also nodded heavily and said seriously, If it's for the leader's breakthrough, there's no more to say. We from the hunting team, when following the leader out to hunt, mostly play a secondary supportive role. Aiding while mining is our main task. To ease the leader's burden, I will not shirk responsibility. The hunting team members all nodded, showing agreement on their faces. Indeed, when following Xia Hong out to hunt, their role was mostly as assistants at best, while Xia Hong was the one truly engaging in risky combat with the cold beast. Even in hunting low-level cold beasts, Xia Hong only entrusted them with the task after ensuring they had matured enough and confirmed there were no issues. Compared to hunting cold beasts, their significance is greater when mining. Now that Xia Hong's breakthrough requires resources, they undoubtedly need to supply them with full effort, even if it means wearing themselves out. It's much easier than Xia Hong risking his life against the cold beasts. We of the logging team haven't been very useful lately. Before, with the excess of wood, we worried we might be of no use anymore. It's only natural to support the leader's breakthrough. Once I spread the word, everyone will surely be happy. Rest assured, Lord Xia Chuan, the logging team will surely complete the mission perfectly. My collection team is the same. To ease the leader's worries, we won't hold back. Bai Dongying and Cheng Feng both stood up, their voices filled with excitement. The position of those in the logging realm in the camp, though numerous, has been somewhat awkward, especially since wood is in excess and crystal fruit is useless. Last time, during the rodent swarm incident, they managed to play a role using bows, but with so much time having passed, they inevitably felt a bit lost again. But now, with Xia Chuan saying that the timber they normally chop could help leader Xia Hong break through to the cold resistance level, Cheng Feng and Bai Dongyu both knew without thinking. Once this news spreads, the members of the collection and logging teams will be filled with enthusiasm, eager to go out logging. Chapter 209. Chapter 140 Mining Competition. The hunt begins. Triple length chapter /2. Don't just say 2 trees a night is enough, even if we have them cut down 3 trees a night. I'm sure someone would try. training the troops for 1,000 days to use them in a single moment. The leader has given so much for the camp all this time. It's finally time to give him some feedback. Everyone mustn't slack off. Moreover, the leader's breakthrough to the cold resistance level is to defend against the Mirror Immortal camp and to keep the territory of Redwood Ridge. Ultimately, we will also benefit from it. After Xia Chuan finished saying this, everyone nodded emphatically. Redwood Ridge is not only regarded as a forbidden domain of Great Xia by Xia Hong alone. The people of the Daxia camp think so too. Looking at it now, the only viable way to hold onto Redwood Ridge in front of the Mirror Immortal camp, which has 2 cold resistance level strongmen, is for Xia Hong to quickly break through to the cold resistance level. Alright, go down and start notifying everyone. The new regulation will officially take effect at nightfall. In this period, everyone in the camp must get moving. No laziness is allowed. When the leader breaks through, then we can relax a bit. I won't talk harsh, but take care of your subordinates if anything goes wrong, even if the leader doesn't hold you accountable. I'll question you 3, understood? Yes, sir. Mu Dong, Cheng Feng, and Bai Dongying nodded heavily. Hearing the seriousness in Xia Chuan's tone, they couldn't help but take it more seriously in their hearts. Seeing Xia Chuan directly giving orders to Mu Dong and the others, a strange look flashed in Luo Yuan's eyes. By rights, Xia Chuan currently holds the camp officer position, and his status should be equal to Mu Dong and the others, but the actual situation is obviously not the case. Xia Chuan's inherent strength, plus his relationship with the leader Xia Hong, give him a natural aura of authority over others in the camp. Especially as Xia Hong entrusts him with more and more matters, this aura becomes increasingly apparent, making him effectively Xia Hong's spokesperson in the camp. Not that there are any objections, whether in terms of strength or his way of handling affairs. No one is more suited or qualified than Xia Chuan to be Xia Hong's spokesperson. It's mainly Luo Yuan who feels a bit jealous. The leader is someone who values capability and efficiency, and is fair in his dealings, as could be seen earlier when selecting the first batch of the hunting team through a public selection using wooden mannequins. Entrusting more and more matters to Xia Chuan is partly because Xia Chuan is his own younger brother, but more importantly, it's clearly because of the value and ability Xia Chuan has demonstrated. Thinking back to when the camps first merged, his basic strength was above Xia Chuan's, and Xia Hong advised him quite a bit. But as time went on, Xia Chuan surpassed him in basic strength, and even started playing a bigger role in the hunting team. Through this continuous process of being surpassed, whether within the hunting team or throughout the camp, his status was gradually being outpaced by Xia Chuan. Now, Xia Chuan can openly give orders to Mu Dong and the others, while he remains just a minor player in the hunting team. This was something proud Luo Yuan just couldn't accept. I won't say much about the people in the hunting team. When the leader is heading out for a hunt, I'll inform you in advance to rest well. Otherwise, stay with me in the mine. By the way, the leader himself might come. Everyone nodded, while Luo Yuan silently turned around, grabbed a chewing teeth chisel from beside the wall, and headed downstairs out of the woodhouse, clearly intending to go to the mine. Can't let this kid get ahead. I have to go too. I'm going too. Let's go, hurry. Don't fight, I'm coming too. Let's all go quickly. Seeing everyone anxiously grabbing their chewing teeth chisels and heading to the mine, Xia Chuan displayed a hint of a smile, took a chisel himself, and followed after them. The leader breaking through to the cold resistance level needs wood. Really? It couldn't be fake. I once saw it with my own eyes. Once the leader touched wood, it disappeared. The leader must be able to absorb wood. Not only wood, iron ore, and coal stones are all possible. I've seen it too. The captain wouldn't lie to us. Why didn't the leader say so earlier? If I'd known, I would have cut more before. I used to think it was tiring and only cut one a night. Under the notification from Cheng Feng and others, the entire camp, especially the ones in the logging realm, immediately knew that Xia Hong needed a massive amount of resources to break through to the cold resistance level. As Xia Chuan had previously predicted, as soon as the news spread, every logging realm in the camp stirred. All the contributions Xia Hong made for the camp over the years were evident to everyone. From the hunting team members in the earth-digging realm to ordinary children, everyone in the Great Xia camp was filled with gratitude and reverence for Xia Hong. This sentiment, after long-term fermentation, even gradually evolved into fanaticism. Upon learning that Xia Hong could use wood for his breakthrough to the cold resistance level, there was no need for reminders from Cheng Feng and Bai Dongying. The people from the logging team and the collection team all grabbed their saws without hesitation and headed out in batches as soon as it got dark. Even the people from the craftsman workshop and the camp supply station joined them after finishing their tasks. The hunting team, of course, was no different. As soon as Xia Chuan spoke that day, everyone went to the iron ore cave on the south side of the valley. 13 people working together, the constant sound of chiseling almost reached outside the mine. Chapter 210, Chapter 140, Mining Competition, the hunt begins 3-in-1 Mega Chapter /3. Zhu Yuankai can't come for now, and Zhu Shun, dragging his injured leg, also came to the mine. If not for Xia Chuan and the others strongly refusing, insisting he recover fully before returning, Zhu Shun would likely be mining with his injured leg. The entire Great Xia camp was either logging or mining. From nightfall, everyone was bursting with immense enthusiasm for extraction. This extraordinary enthusiasm seemed not enough for Xia Chuan, as he discussed with Xi Ping the next day and organized a mining competition. During the time before Xia Hong breaks through the cold resistance level, all materials logged and mined by both the logging realm and earth-digging realm across the camp will be recorded, forming a leaderboard. The leaderboard is divided into 3 categories: wood, coal stone, and iron ore. The top 30 in wood and the top 5 in iron ore and coal stone will be recorded. The first place for wood can earn 800 contribution points. The rankings for iron ore and coal stone will earn 2,000 points respectively, decreasing sequentially. As long as one enters the list, there are high contribution point rewards, and the higher the rank, the higher the contribution points received. When the mining competition was announced, and people heard about the high contribution point rewards, all members above the logging realm in the camp were immediately ecstatic. Apart from the focus on Xia Hong's breakthrough, just the contribution point rewards alone were enough to drive everyone into a frenzy. Take the hunting team as an example. They rely on hunting outside at most. They can only hunt low-level cold beasts, and it even requires coordination among 4 to 5 people. The contribution point value for a low-level cold beast generally ranges from 200 to 400, split among 5 people, with each person getting around 40 points. Xia Chuan and Luo Yuan personally led the team, capable of hunting at most 2 per night, which means, at best, they could earn 80 to 120 contribution points in one hunt. They can't hunt outside every day, and hunting itself carries considerable risk. Golden healing powder now also costs contribution points to exchange. Iron core bows are only owned by Luo Yuan and the Zhao Long brothers, while others still need contribution points to rent them, and consumables like iron arrows also need contribution points to exchange. The hunting team calculated that in a full month, considering hunting outside 15 times, deducting costs for renting bows and arrows and golden healing powder, they could at most earn about 1,000 contribution points. But in this competition, the first place can earn 2,000 contribution points, which is almost equivalent to 2 months of their earnings. Even the hunting team is like this, not to mention the collection team and logging team, as well as the craftsman workshop and camp supply station, for whom earning contribution points is even more difficult. A one-time reward of 800 points is a rare stroke of luck for them. With a highly incentivized mechanism and the connection with leader Xia Hong's breakthrough, these factors combined instantly amplified everyone's enthusiasm for mining several folds. The entire atmosphere of the Great Xia camp immediately transformed. Every day, the most discussed topic was the day's volume of extraction. By nightfall, everyone would swarm out in batches, and Cheng Feng and Bai Dongying, for safety reasons, began planning to split the logging areas to avoid too many people gathering together, aiming to spread them out as much as possible. To improve logging efficiency, people started brainstorming, and gradually new inventions appeared in the camp. The first to appear was the wheelbarrow. A significant reason for low logging efficiency was the low transportation efficiency. Though Redwood Ridge is less than a mile from the valley, the trees were too large and heavy, requiring several people to carry them, consuming considerable time just returning. After someone raised this issue with Mu Dong, the craftsman workshop developed a manual wheelbarrow within a few days. Initially, the version was crude, just a wooden plank with a single wheel, but it kept improving as more issues were raised, making the wheelbarrow more functional. Then came the two-wheeled cart, and several people even cooperated to create more wheels, increasing load capacity, but requiring more manpower for the cart. To enhance efficiency, efforts were not only focused on transportation but also on logging tools, leading to the emergence of flexible saws, two-person saws, and three-person saws. As logging efficiency increased, the hunting team also put in full effort in mining, fearing they might fall behind. Even Xia himself stayed in the mine for 4 to 5 days straight, with cold beast meat being delivered by others. The changes happening in the camp were naturally unknown to Xia Hong, who stayed upstairs for training. It wasn't until the 1st of February in the first year of the Great Xia, when Xia went upstairs to inform him that Zhu Shun's injury had fully healed, and upon going downstairs to receive a batch of resources through the system, did Xia Hong learn about the series of activities Xia had organized. Resources: wood 11,200 coal, 580 iron, 1220 silver, 0 gold, 0. The order for the entire camp to accelerate resource extraction was issued on January 27th, and in just 3 days, such a significant increase in resources was achieved. The extraction progress of coal and iron was still within Xia Hong's acceptable range. With the chewing teeth chisel, an individual in the earth-digging realm, whether extracting coal or iron, could extract more than 40 units a day. With Zhu Shun and Zhu Yuankai injured and unable to mine, the remaining 13 people extracted a total of 1,800 units of coal and iron in 3 days, showing their hard work, but nothing too excessive. But the wood was a bit absurd. With over 300 in the logging realm pushing their limits, each could fell 2 trees a night, equating to about 8,000 jin. The system converts 1,000 jin of wood into a unit. Even calculated this way, the camp's daily wood resources should at most amount to 2,500. Chapter 211. Chapter 140 Mining Competition. The hunt begins 3 in 1 mega chapter /4. In 3 days, that's 7,500. No matter how hard everyone tries, it won't exceed 10,000. After all, the number of people is fixed. Where did the 11,200 units come from? Xia Hong's perplexity was resolved when Mu Dong took him to the craftsman workshop, and he saw the new types of iron saws being made, along with various sizes of wooden carts. During this period, everyone has come up with quite a few strange and novel ideas to improve logging efficiency. They've truly racked their brains. Hearing Mu Dong's words, Xia Hong's face showed a hint of interest. After all, it's pressure that breeds motivation. Previously, when there was an excess of timber, no one could think of these things. But now, with resource pressure, everyone immediately came up with many new inventions through collective brainstorming. Of course, besides being interested, Xia Hong also felt somewhat moved. The more than 300 people in the camp, those above the logging realm, worked tirelessly and relentlessly to extract resources. Ultimately, it was for himself to break through to the cold resistance level as soon as possible. Big brother, since you can collect resources at will, can't we let those logging people cut down the wood and leave it there, and then you go to Redwood Ridge to collect it directly? Hearing that Xia had this thought, Xia Hong's expression became a bit strange. If it were this convenient, there would be no need for Xia reminder. He would have done it long ago. I've already tried before. I have to be within the radiation range of the iron refining furnace to collect resources. It won't work elsewhere. Then move the iron refining furnace to. Xia instinctively came up with a new plan, but he soon realized it wouldn't work and quickly stopped. Xia Hong shook his head. He had thought of this plan himself, and the answer was still no. Judging from the torch's strong attraction to cold beasts, if the iron refining furnace enters Redwood Ridge, who knows what kind of impact it would have? If it attracts a horde of cold beasts, it would be a major problem. Besides, the most important function of the iron refining furnace is to ward off deceitful monsters. Once it moves, it means that everyone in the camp has to move with it. Even when there are no deceitful monsters, Xia Hong doesn't dare to move the furnace casually, let alone now when Great Xia Camp has already been targeted by a deceitful monster. Thinking of the incident on the 17th of last month when Wang He mysteriously disappeared and was burned to death by coagulated fire oil upon his return, Xia Hong's mind stirred, and he quickly asked, "So many people have gone out in these 3 days. Didn't they encounter anything?" Xia immediately shook his head and replied, "No, although groups go out in batches, each has at least 10 people, Plus, before going out, everyone must apply coagulated fire oil, and each group carries 3 torches. Normally, they are not lit. They should only be used when encountering deceitful monsters. Indeed, nothing happened in these 3 days and everyone returned normally. More than 300 people from the logging realm, almost all moved out, yet the deceitful monster didn't strike once. This is a bit strange. Xia Hong's brow furrowed, and his expression showed some confusion. No issues happening is, of course, a good thing. But considering the deceitful monster's bloodthirsty nature, being so quiet is even more worrisome. This proves that the deceitful monster is likely aware of the coagulated fire oil and is more cautious than the original wooden puppet monster. Hiding in the dark with such caution makes it undoubtedly harder to deal with. Since it doesn't strike, let's continue to act as if it doesn't exist. As long as the iron refining furnace is here, it won't breach the camp. Just remind everyone to be careful when going out. If there truly is any problem, we'll address it then. This is a kind of helpless measure. Having no idea how to deal with the deceitful monster, Xia Hong couldn't think of any method. Not going out to extract resources is certainly not an option. With the furnace present, the camp is assuredly safe. When coated with coagulated fire oil, the opponent dares not strike. Confirming these 2 points is already enough. For now, let's do this. Inform Zhu Shun and all members of the hunting team that they don't need to mine during the day today. Rest well and come out with me after dark. Yes, big brother. More than 300 people were all determined to extract resources, all for breaking through to the cold resistance level themselves. Since everyone was working so hard, Xia Hong naturally also felt pressured. Zhu Yuankai's injury is likely to take a while to heal. Missing one person shouldn't be a big issue. Having once experienced hunting an intermediate snow mane, as long as they don't encounter other unknown intermediate cold beasts, Xia Hong is still quite confident. A gap of 4,900 pounds of cold beast blood, we must try to improve the hunting efficiency. The traps, weapons, and hunting tools all need to be improved. Thinking of the massive amount of cold beast blood needed for his breakthrough, Xia Hong frowned slightly and exhaled heavily after a long pause. Elsewhere, the members of the hunting team mining in the cave learned from Xia Chuan that Xia Hong would lead them to hunt intermediate cold beasts after dark, and they were all instantly thrilled. Although mining also yields substantial contribution points, it's far less compared to going out hunting, especially when going with Xia Hong. Last time, when hunting that intermediate snow mane, Xia Hong set the reward at 10,000 contribution points, and he himself didn't take any. So, each of the 15 hunting team members received over 600 points. To earn over 600 points in one go, knowing that the duration of this mining competition is unknown, and the reward for first place is only 2,000 points. The temptation of going out hunting with Xia Hong is self-evident. Last time was the first intermediate cold beast, so the leader set it very high. This time there shouldn't be 10,000 points, but it won't be too low, maybe 8,000. I don't think so, should be 6,000. You're overthinking it. The highest for low-level cold beast is currently Teng Jiao with 380 points. I'm guessing it will normally be set at 5,000, that's the limit. 5,000 is not bad either. We are 14 people this time, each can get over 300 points, hee. The hunting team discussed excitedly for a while, then all put down their chewing teeth chisels and returned to their rooms to rest and prepare. After dark, without needing notification from Xia Hong, the 14-member hunting team was already fully armed and waiting at the camp supply station entrance. Are you all ready? Ready, leader. Let's move out. Xia Hong didn't waste words, and with one command, he led the 14 members out of the camp, heading straight into Redwood Ridge. It can be predicted that in the coming period, the frequency of hunts will definitely increase. It's just unknown how long the excitement of these hunting team members will last. Chapter 212. Chapter 140. 1 Intermediate Thunder QE. 2nd Reshaping Skin 3 in 1. Crack. Deep in Redwood Ridge, an intermediate snow mane with iron arrows piercing its eyes was frantically fleeing northward. It was blind and could only crash around based on instinct. The snow mane's right hind leg was dragging a piece of an animal trap, the wound already exposing flesh and oozing bright red blood. Due to the injury on its leg, its speed was far below normal. However, its massive body and strong survival instincts allowed it to unleash a tremendous force. Within less than 100 meters, It had already knocked several giant trees askew. Zhao Long, shoot from afar. Xia Chuan, release lines to restrain it. Yuan Cheng and Yue Feng lay traps ahead. Luo Yuan and everyone else pull the rope to control the direction of this beast's escape. As Xia Hong's voice echoed from behind, several white threads suddenly attacked from one side of the snow mane's body. Two figures sped up, running tens of meters ahead of the snow mane from both sides, quickly throwing 4 more animal traps to the ground, each end tied with a rope. From the rear, 3 successive waves of dozens of arrows were shot, all accurately hitting the snow mane's abdomen and the spot where its hind leg was dragging the trap. When the arrows struck its abdomen, the wounds were not deep enough to cause a reaction from the snow mane. But when the injured leg was hit, it faltered a bit. Each arrow elicited a muffled grunt, and its escape slowed noticeably, obviously suffering from aggravated wounds. As its movement slowed, a group of 8 people caught up from behind, each clutching a rope. The rope's end was tied to the animal trap dragging behind the snow mane's hind leg. Almost there, pull. Another fierce shout from Xia Hong spurred Luo Yuan and the 8 others to grit their teeth, find the nearest large tree, wind the rope around it several times, then brace themselves behind it, gripping the rope tightly. Luo Yuan's group halted, but the snow mane did not. The rope connected to the animal trap quickly went taut in the air. Snap! The rope snapped taut with a loud whip crack, causing the snow mane, though not stopping entirely, to stagger sharply with its right leg, veering slightly to the left. Crack! It was this slight veer that caused the snow mane's left foreleg to step directly onto one of the 4 animal traps set by Yue Feng and Yuan Cheng earlier. The half-meter-wide trap snapped shut, crushing the bones in the snow mane's left foreleg with a loud crack. Roar! Pain drove the snow mane into even more of a frenzy, the force from its body greater than before. Crack! Even though Luo Yuan and the 8 others were exerting their full strength pulling the rope, they couldn't hold the completely frenzied snow mane. Within 2 breaths, it overwhelmed them, leading to a headlong tumble, breaking the rope and even the 10-meter diameter tree. If not for their quick reflexes to release the rope in time, they might have been dragged dozens of meters by the snow mane, risking severe injury from colliding with another giant tree. Splurred! Both the snow mane's left foreleg and right hind leg were caught in animal traps, and the surging power unleashed by its survival instincts only lasted briefly. After running another 100 meters north, its speed visibly slowed. At the same time, Xia Hong, who had been following along the tree line, had run ahead of the snow mane. Seeing the timing was right, he finally made his move. Bang! Xia Hong raised his arms high above his head, the double-edged giant axe dangling behind him, as he leapt 20 meters from the tree, swinging his arms mightily. The giant axe arced through the air in a semicircle, cleaving abruptly into the snow mane's head just as it reached the base of the tree. The axe blade split through the skull, and although the expected sound should have been a crack, what actually rang out was a loud bang. It was like a thunderclap, resounding across 200 to 300 meters around. Xia Hong's basic strength had already reached over 32,000 pounds, with the punching technique adding 20% more force, plus the acceleration from the free fall. The force from this axe swing exceeded 40,000 pounds. Like tearing through decayed wood, the axe split open the snow mane's skull, embedding the entire 75-centimeter radius fan blade into its head, leaving only one side exposed. Boom! The snow mane's head hit the ground with a boom, the immense power creating a terrifying potential energy that generated a circular shockwave, sending the snow within 10 meters flying high into the air. Roar! Even with its skull nearly cleaved in 2, the snow mane's ferocity hadn't completely faded, roaring hoarsely while eyeing Xia Hong with bloodshot pupils, its pupils suddenly constricted. Everyone gather here quickly. Seeing this, Xia Hong urgently shouted towards the others. Xia Chuan, Luo Yuan, and the group, including the Zhao Long trio shooting arrows from afar, moved swiftly towards the snow mane upon hearing the call. Within less than 3 breaths, all 14 were gathered around the snow mane, and they even crawled under it. Xia Hong, who first warned them, was already positioned under the snow mane's chin. Whoosh and whoosh and whoosh. The snow mane's back was suddenly bristling with spikes, as they shot out indiscriminately in all directions, the power evident from the dozen trees around heavily pierced and riddled with holes.